Thanks, fellow Liberians. We want to appreciate all of you. You know, whenever we have an opportunity to come on this platform, it is always my pleasure to have you on. And I will ask of one favor, and that favor is for you to just share. Share and invite somebody. Let other people be privileged to listen to what I'm about to say. Everything I'm about to say is tied to facts and truth-telling. For us on this platform, Voices from Exile with Martin K. and Kollie, we deal in truth-telling and facts. That's why we spend hours researching to dig out the facts and come to you with these facts. So it is indeed too sporadic. Thanks for joining us. Davidson Torman, Mambenu Harris, Aaron Lucia Chodbo Kote. Thanks to all of you. J. Emmanuel Ziket Jr. Hey, my sister, Clara K. Mala from way there in Yekepa. Thanks for joining us. Va Malastu Sion, Benjamin Yimpe. Thanks to all of you for joining us. We appreciate your time and your contribution to this podcast. So, fellow Liberians, today is yet another edition of the podcast, Voices from Exile with Martin K. and Kollie. And it is good you are on because we have a lot to say today. This is the April 3rd edition of the podcast, Voices from Exile with Martin K. and Kollie. We come on tri-weekly, every Monday, every Wednesday, and every Friday at 7:30 p.m. Liberian time. So that's our schedule. Chairman Dode, Chairman Abraham Dode, an ideological patriot of the land. Thanks for joining us from way there in the United States of America. My sister, Monan Koti, from way Europe. Thanks for joining. Lawrence Fan, thanks to all of you. I appreciate your time and your presence on this podcast. Swar Romeo, Sonny, Gaga, thanks to all of you. Hey, my brother, Steve Boley, thanks for joining. So basically today we have 4 issues to talk about. 4 pertinent issues that is tied to the survival and destiny of the country. 4, just 4, as you can see on your screen. We will be asking a major question. Where is President Weah? Where is Fatou Sherry Smith from Germany? And we'll be telling you why the professional repetition of Dr. Mosoka Fallah is at stake. We will be telling you, those of you who know Dr. Mosoka Fallah, share this video with him. His repetition is at stake. His repetition, his professional repetition is at stake. He is compromising his ethics and canons to protect the interests of politicians. And he needs to stop. We'll also talk about that on this platform. The second thing we'll talk about, we'll ask another question. Withdrawal of nominee or rejection. Right? Did President Weah withdraw his nominee, or his nominee was actually rejected in practice by the Liberian Senate before he withdrew? We will answer that question for you. We will also tell you how Chief Justice Francis Kpokpo is one of the enablers of this Nigerian fraudster. Chief Justice Francis Kpokpo must be held accountable as well for enabling this Nigerian con artists who duped our system for more than 20 years. I will tell you why should Chief Justice Francis Kpokpo, why he should be held accountable. I will tell you why President Weah as well, he should be held accountable. I will tell you who all should be held accountable. In the case of Dubuisi, I will tell you who all enabled Dubuisi to fraudulently and criminally beat our system. I will tell you. The third thing we'll be talking about, electoral reform. Electoral reform is a must, and this is why I think I will give you a composition of how the National Elections Commission should be in modern day democracy around the world. In modern day democracy, I will give you the composition I will suggest to the legislature, to the executive and the judiciary, pertinent to how the structure, the composition of the National Elections Commission should actually be. Hence, I will be calling for an immediate electoral reform. An immediate electoral reform. Not only electoral reform, my people, I will be calling also for legislative and judicial reform in Liberia. Our systems are very weak. very vulnerable and porous to intruders and violators. Any intruder, any violator can just be through our system. Because of the weakness of our system, we do not even have system. We do not even have system. So I will be suggesting some recommendations to those in authority. It is left with them to take it or not. And the last thing we'll be talking about on this platform, fellow Liberians, about a few months ago, another quote-unquote anti-graft institution was established. And the name of that institution is Access, Investigation, Recovery, and Restitution Team, AIRReT. AIRReT. I will tell you why AIRReT has failed under Councillor Syrenius Cephus as Solicitor General and Arthur Johnson as the head of AIRReT, even though he has resigned. I will tell you how he was operating illegally as well, and the amount given them to recover assets, even though they did not recover any asset. They did not recover any asset. They did not recover a dime. They did not recover no tangible assets or intangible assets, nothing at all. But they received more than 100,000. They were calling for 2.1 million to recover an assets, costing around 4.6 billion. They called for 2.1 million to recover a 4.6 billion assets. The government gave them more than 100,000 United States dollars, and they could not even recover a dime. A dime, I'm telling you, Liberians. So these are the 4 issues we'll talk about today. So I just want us to begin with the first issue, which is linked to the office of the presidency. Fellow Liberians, about 2 days ago, this is a breaking news. I already broke the news yesterday on my page. Go on my Facebook page. You will see the exchanges between my source of information and I. We converse. His or her identity is unknown. Reason is to protect him or her and to ensure that the doctrine of confidentiality is upheld. So I'm not going to tell you who gave me this information. I'm not going to tell you my source, but all of my sources are always credible. Before I put any information out there, I myself can investigate thoroughly because I respect my character. I respect my reputation. So today we will be telling you more about the coronavirus debacle, dilemma. But the first thing I want to say to all of you witnessing this podcast, President Weah, the head of state of the Republic of Liberia, is currently under surveillance. The head of state of the Republic of Liberia is currently under surveillance. And why is he under surveillance? Because he came in contact with his special friend he invited from Germany. Her name is Fatou Sherry Smith. All of you are aware. Like 2 weeks ago, specifically on the 17th of March, I broke this news about President Weah inviting his special friend, quote unquote, from Germany. Her name is Fatou Sherry Smith. She is a resident of Zurich, Germany. When President Weah invited Fatou to Liberia, at that time, Germany was one of the hottest zones of the coronavirus epidemic. Are you listening to me, fellow Liberians? When President Weah invited Fatou from Germany to Liberia for whatever reason, I don't know, but they have been friends since 1995. I posted another photo to prove that. You know, President Weah invited Fatou to Liberia since the 16th of March 2020. She boarded the plane from Germany, passed through another hot zone, Belgium, and came directly to Liberia. She was picked up from the airport by the presidential aide of His Excellency George Manem Bakugbe Weah. She defied all protocols, health protocols and measures at the airport simply because of her connection to President Weah. You see how the people are risking our lives, fellow Liberians? You see how these people are risking our lives? When I raised the alarm about Fatou Sherif, a lot of you are aware. Nobody could listen to me, not even health workers. Their decision was being influenced by higher ups, especially President Weah, because of the special contact and connection Fatou has with the president. So she was not placed on a self-quarantine. She was not placed. After almost 3 weeks, Fatou has been tested positive. That's the breaking news. Fatu has been tested positive by health workers. You know why Dr. Mosoka Fallah could not call the names of those other 3 confirmed cases? You know why Dr. Mosoka Fallah could not call the names of those other 3 confirmed cases, fellow Liberians? Because Fatu is involved. And Fatu has a direct link, or has had a direct link with the president consistently. So an attempt to name Fatu as one of the 3 confirmed cases, it means that you are also pointing the spotlight on the president, because the president was the one who invited Fatu, his special friend, to Liberia from Germany. So the National Public Health Institute has refused to call the 3 confirmed cases, of which Fatu is amongst. And as I learned from my source, I posted the screenshots. Go on my page, fellow Liberians, go and read the exchanges between me and my source. Very unimpeachable, credible, and reliable information. Very reliable. Go and read the exchanges. I posted on my page yesterday. Go and read it. The only reason why they are not announcing, because it was there before yesterday. Dr. Mosoka Fallah told the nation that we have 3 confirmed cases, in addition to the 3 confirmed cases that were already there. Nathaniel Blama, Johnny Phillips, and Linda Ross. Initially we had 3 confirmed cases, right? Dr. Mosoka Fallah last 2 days ago announced that we have 3 additional confirmed cases. He didn't call names, though, but for the first 3 confirmed cases, he called their names. The second 3 confirmed cases, he decided not to call names. And the reason why he's not calling names, because Fatu Sharif, the special friend of the president who was invited from Germany to Liberia by the president himself, has been tested positive. And because of her contact to the president, when she came from Germany, the president has also been placed on quarantine, my people. You see how the people are risking our lives, the lives of our people back home? You see how the people are risking the lives of our people back home, fellow Liberians? I'm giving you credible info, very credible. This information is 100% credible, and I trust the impeccability of my source. I trust the reliability of my source. I challenge them to call the names of the 3 new cases, 3 new confirmed cases. I challenge them. They were not. Since day before yesterday, join me to ask them to call the names of those other 3 confirmed cases, my people. Dr. Mosoka Fallah's repetition is at stake. Dr. Wilhelmina Njala's repetition is at stake. Dr. Ketia's repetition is at stake. Those of you who know these 3 doctors, inform them that their professional reputation and character is at stake. And we are watching with eagle eyes. If they could name the first 3 confirmed cases, why they can't name the other 3 confirmed cases? Why they can't name these other 3 confirmed cases? Dr. Fallah needs to be very careful. Share, he's on Facebook, share this video with him. He needs to be very cautious of the fact that we are watching every trend along the way. Because this has to do with the survival of our people. This has to do with the safety, the security, the health, the well-being of our people. Like I said, from the very beginning, I started raising alarm against the hypocrisy of health workers and the government. I said my intent, my overriding intent, is for no Liberian to fall prey to this global pandemic called COVID-19. That's my overriding motive. So I will not sit here for Dr. Fallah to be parading in hypocrisy and dishonesty. You call the name of Nathaniel Blama. You call the name of Johnny Phillips. You call the name of Linda Ross. What is stopping you from calling the names of these other 3 confirmed cases? Is it because Fatu Sharif Sheep, the special friend of the president, is one of those tested positive of the virus? What is there to hide, Dr. Mosoka Fallah? What is there to hide, Dr. Mosoka Fallah? Those of you who are witnessing this podcast, just hit the share button. That's all I need you to do for me. Dr. Mosoka Fallah needs to hear this. His reputation is on the line. His character is on the line. He cannot call himself a professional doctor. He cannot call himself a public health expert, and he has become hypocritical about the fight against the coronavirus. We cannot be hypocritical about this collective fight against COVID-19. We must be open. We must be fair. We must be honest. We must be factual about disseminating information to the public. The public needs to be aware. The public needs to be aware. Now, in the fight against this virus, there are two major elements we must consider: awareness and sensitization, as well as preparedness. When the citizenry is aware, when the citizens are aware, they become prepared. So before you get prepared, you must be aware. So why is Dr. Mosoka Fallah hiding the names of those 3 confirmed cases? Why is Dr. Mosoka Fallah hiding the names of those 3 confirmed cases when he named the first 3 confirmed cases, including Nathaniel Blama, Johnny Phillips, and Linda Ross? Have you ever thought about that? The reason is very simple. An attempt to name the 3 confirmed cases, of which Fatou Sharif, the special friend to the president, has been tested positive, and the president is linked directly because he's under surveillance now, it will have national security implication. So Dr. Mosoka Fallah is compromising his ethics. He's compromising his ethics in exchange for political consideration. There should be no space for political consideration in our collective fight against this virus, my people. Call the names, Dr. Fallah. Please call the names of those 3 new confirmed cases. If you do not call the name, I'll call for a national showdown against you. Those of you who know Dr. Fallah, inform me. We are watching from eagle eyes, even though we are in exile. But the lives of our people are of paramount concern to us. No Liberian should fall prey to this virus. Not today, not even tomorrow. Liberians had enough during the Ebola virus disease. Over 4,000 of our people died. So our motive, our objective, our general intent during this fight against COVID-19 should be: no Liberian should fall prey. No Liberian should fall prey. No Liberian should fall prey to this virus. Ebola did a lot to our people. Our people were scorched. They were scorched by Ebola. Thousands of them got killed as a result of this life-threatening disease called Ebola. 4,000, more than 4,000 of them lost their lives. During this collective fight against coronavirus disease, let me inform Dr. Mosoka Fallah, hypocrisy must never be considered. Political consideration must never be. There should be no sacred cow. No sacred cow. Not even President Weah. Current President Weah is under surveillance. Tell the nation that President Weah is under surveillance. The names of other world leaders were called when they came in contact with this virus. When they were tested positive of this virus, their names were called. Why is Dr. Fallah hiding the names of the 3 new confirmed cases? The 3 new confirmed cases should make the number of cases 6. Then we just have another one, the 7th confirmed cases. The 7th confirmed case. You know that they have called the name of the 7th confirmed case, but they haven't called case number 4, case number 5, and case number 6. They jumped to 7 and called his name, the Assistant Minister of Public Works. He was just tested positive this morning. Fellow Liberians, are you hearing me? But they cannot call the name of confirmed case number 4. They cannot call the name of confirmed case number 5. They cannot call the name of confirmed case number 6. But they just called the name of confirmed case number 7. The information minister did that. He called the name of confirmed case number 7. Just a few hours ago, his name is James Renner. Go on Front Page Africa, the news story is there. But they are unwilling to call the name of confirmed case number 4, 5, and 6. You see the level of hypocrisy, fellow Liberians, when I thought they say are doing politics? Is this politics? Is this what you call politics, fellow Liberians? Those of you witnessing this podcast, tell me. Those of you who are witnessing this podcast, you tell me whether this is politics. This is about the national interest. This is about the people's interest and welfare. Protecting public interest and welfare. That's my job. It is my job to protect the Liberian people from danger, especially during these very tragic and troubling times of health crisis. Global health crisis at that. So when I see something that is not going right, I will talk it. I will talk it. No matter what the circumstances are. Currently, we have 7 confirmed cases, fellow Liberians. We only know the names of 4. Is it fair? We don't know the names of 3. We only know the names of 4. Tell me whether it's fair. Why are they hiding the names of the remaining 3? Why are they hiding the names of the remaining 3? Hey, Mother Levy Thompson, welcome. Edwin Sharif, thanks to all of you for joining. Emmanuel Gomayen, thanks. Patrick Kekula, thanks to all of you for joining. Why are they hiding the names of the other 3? You tell me, fellow Liberians. You only know the names of 4 confirmed cases. But actually, there are 7 confirmed cases. They have only named 3, and they are hiding the names of the... they have only named 4, they are hiding the names of the other 3. Dr. Mosoka Fala, this is a message for you. Those of you who know Dr. Mosoka Fala, he's on Facebook. Share the message with him. Dr. Mosoka Fala is compromising his professional ethics, principles, and canons. Those who are health workers, those who are doctors, should be health workers. And there are set principles. They usually take oath. Dr. Mosoka Fala is undermining the oath he took. And he needs to know this. He needs to protect President Weah, to protect President Weah's fine against the interests of the nation. Let me just remind Dr. Fala about what 3 doctors did during the Ebola crisis. They didn't compromise their health ethics. They didn't compromise their health ethics. And I want to pay homage to Dr. Jared Brown during the Ebola crisis. Dr. Jared Brown is currently the chief medical officer at the John F. Kennedy Hospital. He didn't compromise his health ethics, his professional canon. He didn't compromise like Dr. Mosoka Fala is doing now. Dr. Jared Brown during the Ebola crisis stood his ground. He stood his ground and kept by his ethical principles. As a result of that, the international community awarded him. He received an accolade from the international community for demonstrating professionalism and high ethical standards. I want to name another doctor. His name is 3 doctors who were awarded by the international community for demonstrating during the Ebola virus disease crisis. Now, another doctor I want to call, his name is Dr. Gabriel Gobi. He's called Ebola Hero. He is currently the Assistant Minister for Curative Services at the Ministry of Health. He stood by his ethics as a professional doctor. He stood by his ethics. He didn't behave like Dr. Mosoka Fala, who doesn't want to call the names of the remaining 3 confirmed cases, but he has called the names of the 4 confirmed cases. Dr. Gabriel also received international accolade. I also want to remember Mr. Toba Niswa. He didn't compromise his professional ethics as a public health expert. And you saw the international accolade he also received. 3 doctors, 3 professional health workers during the Ebola virus disease. They did not compromise their professional ethics. As a result of that, they were showered with accolades and laurels from Liberia as well as the international community. Dr. Mosoka Fala is leading the fight against this virus, and he's compromising his ethics. He doesn't want to call the names of the 3 confirmed cases. Just be aware, Dr. Fala, we are aware. We are aware that Fatou Sharif, the special friend to President Weah, has been tested positive, and you do not want to call her name because you have been mandated by the President NATO. You have been mandated by the Minister of Presidential Affairs not to call her name because of her direct link to the President, because she was invited directly by the President from Germany to Liberia. We are aware. Just know that we are aware, Dr. Fala. Why you do not want to call the names of those 3 confirmed cases? Probably the President could be one of them because he's under surveillance currently. Samuel Toa is also under surveillance. We are aware. We are aware, fellow Liberians. If you could call Nathaniel Blama, a government official, the director, executive director of the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, if you could call his name, who is Fatou? Fatou is an ordinary German, a naturalized German-based Liberian. She's not even a government official. If you could call the name of a government official, what about Fatou? What is there to her? What is there to her, Dr. Wedomino Jala? What is there to her? Dr. Mosoka Fala, 2 of you are leading this fight. Dr. Kete, what is there to her? If you could call the name of a government official, a senior government official like Nathaniel Blama of the Environmental Protection Agency, why not call the name of Fatou? Why are you hiding your name? Why you call case 1, case 2, case 3, and case 7? You jump over case 4, case 5, and case 6. Why? Why you have to do that? Your reputation is on the line, Dad. And I'm going to raise this debate against you. Going forward, I'm going to let the Liberian people know that you've compromised your ideals, your professional ideals and ethics. I'm talking about Dr. Mosoka Fala. If you know him, tell him. Tell him. Tell him. There should be no time here for political expediency. We're talking about health crisis. Not because the girl is linked to the president, so you cannot call her name. You know why people call people's names, fellow Liberians? Let me tell you why people call people's names. 2 reasons. Number 1, for the purpose of contact tracing. Because if I know Fatu is positive and she's linked to the president, and I know the president, I will not go around the president. That one reason. I will not go around the president because Fatu had direct link with the president. So I will be very precautious or preventive. If somebody has the disease and this person had come in contact with another person in my community, I will not go around that person in my community because that person had been in contact with the person who had come down with the disease. That's why it is important for you to call the name. Number 2, for the purpose of contact tracing, because the community could also help you to tell you who all Fatu came in contact with in her community. Since she came to Liberia from Germany. Fatu came in contact with the presidential aide. Fatu came in contact with the Minister of State for Presidential Affairs. Fatu came in contact with the president and other high government officials. So why are you hiding your name? We need to know so that you can begin a robust contact tracing process to trace all of those people Fatu came in contact with. It will be better for us if we do it faster. It will be better for us if we call the name now and we begin to trace people who Fatu came in contact with, because she came to the country since March 16. She came to the country since March 16. This has got nothing to do with confidentiality. I hearing people talking about confidentiality. I hearing people talking about stigmatization. But this was the same doctor, Dr. Mosoka Fala, who called the names of other people. At that time, he didn't know about confidentiality and stigmatization. The Deputy Minister of Information talking about confidentiality and stigmatization. Oh, but Dr. Fala called the names of Nathaniel Blama. The first case, he called the name of Johnny Phillips. The second case, he called the name of Linda Ross, the 62-year-old Liberian woman. The third case, he has also called the name, they have also called the name of Jean Renner, the Assistant Minister for Planning and Program at the Ministry of Public Works. 4 names, but they are hiding 3 names. So they called those 4 names. They didn't know about confidentiality. They didn't know about stigmatization. You see how the people are behaving, fellow Liberians? When I'm talking, then you say I left politics. Are politics here? They are putting the lives of our people at risk. They are putting the lives of over 4.5 million people at risk. The president is under surveillance. It was the president who brought this girl from Germany. At that time, Germany had more than 13,000 confirmed cases. When I raised the alarm, they say, oh, the president doesn't have contact with the girl. Until I posted 2 different photos of the president and the girl. On one of those photos, the girl is sitting down on the president's lap. Go on my page. Go on my page. The photos are there. For me, I don't just talk. Oh. I research, I fact check, I investigate, I analyze before I even come here on this platform to release information. Let me tell you now today. I don't just talk. When I say Fatu came in the country at the invitation of the president, people say, oh, you're lying on the president. Until I prove it. Until I prove it. So I'm telling you today that Fatu has been tested positive. The president is under surveillance because of his direct contact consistently with Fatu. Finance Minister Samuel Weah is also under surveillance. That's why they don't want to name the other 3 confirmed cases. I'm just telling you. This is the breaking news. Their justification for not releasing the other 3 confirmed cases, they're talking about stigmatization, they're talking about confidentiality. But you call the name of Nathaniel Blama, one of the most senior government officials. You call his name. Fatu is now a government official. No. She's not a senior citizen. She's a citizen of Germany, a resident of Munich, Germany. She's not even a Liberian. She's a natural born Liberian, but she naturalized. She naturalized in Germany. So if you could call the name of a senior government official, why not Fatu? If you could call the name of another Liberian, Johnny Phillips. Why not Fatu? If you could call the name of Linda Ross, the 63-year-old Liberian woman who was tested positive, why not Fatu? If you could call the name of an assistant minister of government from the Ministry of Public Works, he's the assistant minister for planning and programming. His name is James Renner. If you just called his name a few hours ago, why you didn't call the names of the other 3 confirmed cases 2 days ago and even up to now? My people, are you listening? Are you listening, my people? Just hit the share button. Share this until it reaches the decks of Dr. Mosoka Fala and Dr. Wilhelmina Njala of the Ministry of Health. They need to know this, that we are watching with eagle eyes. They cannot compromise the health and interests of our people in exchange for political consideration or political expediency. They cannot do that. Other world leaders are being named, especially those who have been tested with the virus. They have been named. Their names have been called. Their names have been called. There is nothing here. There is nothing here about stigmatization or confidentiality. And let me tell you why. Let me tell you why there should be no case or there should be no argument about confidentiality or stigmatization. The reason is very simple. The virus, COVID-19, has been declared as a global pandemic. At first, it was just a virus. Do you know what it means when WHO, the World Health Organization, the UN agency responsible for public global health, do you know what it means when World Health Organization announces to the world that this virus is a global pandemic and we are in a global health emergency? Do you know what that means? That means it has gone out of hand. Therefore, the world should unite to fight this virus. So it's no longer about stigmatization or confidentiality. It becomes a global issue. That's why world leaders, celebrities, world-class citizens are being named. People who have been tested of having COVID-19, their names are called. There's nothing about stigmatization or confidentiality yet. We've passed that stage because the virus has been declared a global pandemic. The virus has been declared a global pandemic. And we are in a global health emergency according to the WHO. So there's nothing to hide here. And one of the ways to get our people prepared is through awareness. The people must be aware about those cases, the names of those cases, so that they can avoid contact with all of those confirmed cases came in contact with. With all of those the confirmed cases came in contact with. So like I said, there are 2 reasons why names are important to be called. 2 reasons. Number 1, for contact tracing. Because the community could just help you to tell you who all Fatu came in contact with. And number 2, for the people to be aware and take precaution because they know who Fatu came in contact with. Are you understanding the line of logic, fellow Liberians? Y'all join me and call Dr. Mosoka Fala to name the other 3 confirmed cases. Share this video, fellow Liberian, please. Please share this video. These are troubling and tragic times. You cannot place political consideration over the national interest. You cannot place political consideration over the interest of the people, the health interest and welfare of the people. No. Why are you mutilating your character, Dr. Fala? You were once a professional health worker, a public health expert, trained in the United States of America. Why should you reduce yourself to political expediency and political consideration simply because you want to protect the interests of President Weah? Why, Dr. Fala? I thought we agreed fundamentally from the beginning that there will be no sacred cow in our collective fight against this virus. I thought we agreed everyone to those basic health protocols and measures. I thought we agreed, Dr. Fala, principally, that selectivism will find no space in our collective fight against this virus. I thought we agreed not to be biased. I thought we agreed not to be partial. I thought we agreed not to demonstrate prejudices. I thought we agreed, Dr. Fala. I'm disappointed in you to be protecting the presidency and other higher ups. And you informing the Liberian people we have 3 new confirmed cases. What are the names of the 3 new confirmed cases? Like you did the first 3. You call their names. You call their names. So I just want to inform you that we are watching, Dr. Fala. And here are the names. I'm going to name them again. Number 1, Nathaniel Blama. Number 2, Johnny Phillips. He was the second confirmed case. Number 3, Linda Ross, the 3rd confirmed case. Number 4 is unknown. Number 5 is unknown, no name. Number 6 is unknown. Number 7, James Renner, Assistant Minister for Planning and Program at the Ministry of Public Works. I want to call on health workers as well to shut down the Ministry of Public Works because it is a risky zone. James Renner has been going to work, interacting with a lot of people at the ministry. They need to carry out robust contact tracing. James Renner, the 7th confirmed case. The 7th confirmed case. He has been interacting with people at the Ministry of Public Works. So shut down Ministry of Public Works. And even the minister has to go on a quarantine or surveillance. Minister Maputo Yimpa has to go on a quarantine or surveillance because he has been interacting with this assistant minister who has been tested positive of the virus. So you see what is happening? You see how the people are risking the lives of our people, fellow Liberians? They're talking about confidentiality. They're talking about the doctrine of stigmatization. When did you get to know? When did you get to know? When you just call another confirmed case name. When you just call the name of another confirmed case. Just a few hours ago, the Ministry of Information, Eugene Nangwe, announced to Liberians in the world that the 7th confirmed case is Jim Renner, Assistant Minister of Public Works. So when did you get to know that confidentiality is an issue? When did you get to know that stigmatization is an issue? There is nothing stigmatizing here. The virus has been declared a global pandemic by the World Health Organization. There is nothing stigmatizing here. There is nothing confidential here. There should be nothing confidential. Especially when it comes to calling names of those who have been tested positive. You're talking about confidentiality. Let me just give you some information, fellow Liberians, about world leaders whose names have been called. Let me just give you some information. Listen. World leaders, people who are more than Fatu, people who are far more than Fatu in terms of economic status, in terms of political status, in terms of social status, people who are far beyond Fatu Sharif, the friend of the special friend of the president. Let me name them, people who have been tested of the virus, world leaders. World leaders, you're talking about stigmatization. What are you calling about? Their names were called by health authorities in their various countries. I'm going to name them. Let me start with the wife of Prime Minister Justin Trudeau of Canada. His wife was tested positive. His wife, Sophie Gregor Trudeau. The Prime Minister of Canada, his wife, her name is Sophie Gregor Trudeau. She was tested positive. So the Prime Minister had to go into self-quarantine. Are you listening? You can compare Fatou Sherry with the wife of the Prime Minister of Canada in terms of status, economically and politically. But her name was called. Her name was called. Let me go to the second person, Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister of Great Britain, United Kingdom. Boris Johnson was tested positive. His name was called. What are you talking about stigmatization, confidentiality? You can compare Fatou with these people. If President Weah is tested positive, God forbid, call his name. Because he came in contact with Fatou, who has been tested positive. It's confirmed that Fatou is tested positive of COVID-19. And he invited Fatou to the country from Germany. So what is big about calling President Weah's name? What is big about calling Fatou's name? The Prime Minister of Great Britain, his name was called Boris Johnson. He's on a compulsory quarantine currently. Do you know how he interacts with his cabinet? He has been having meetings with his cabinet while he's in quarantine through Skype. Through Skype. He's having meetings, engagements with people in his cabinet through Skype. Skype. Because he was tested positive of the virus and his name was called. Let's go to the next world leader. Nandi Doris, the Deputy Minister of Health for Great Britain, tested positive of the virus. I'm calling world leaders' name. Then you don't want to call the names of the other 3 confirmed cases, that of Mosoka Fala. Are you killing me? Why will you reduce your professional ethic to political consideration? I'm disappointed in you, Dad. I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed. Let's go to the next world leader, General Jalofok Mika, General Mikal is the commanding general of the U.S. Army in Europe. His name was called. His name was called. I'm naming war leaders, high-class war citizens, whose names were called. Then you say you telling her you can't call the names of the other 3 confirmed cases because of stigmatization and confidentiality? Fellow Liberians, are you hearing me? Prince Charles of England. I'm naming war leaders, oh, Prince Charles of England. Let's go to the next world leader, Ali Kaba Velakati. He's a senior advisor to the supreme leader of Iran, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. The names of world leaders who were caught, they were tested positive of the COVID-19. The senior advisor to the supreme leader of Iran, his name is Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. He was tested positive of the virus. Let's go further. I'm naming world leaders to kill their argument of confidentiality and stigmatization. Peter Dutton, the Australian Home Affairs Minister, the Minister of Home Affairs for Australia, he was tested positive of the virus and his name was called. Peter Dutton. Nestor Foster, the ambassador of Brazil in Washington. She was tested positive of the virus and her name was called. The Brazilian ambassador in Washington tested positive of the virus and her name was called. I'm naming world leaders of fellow Liberians. The German Chancellor, Angela Merkel. She's the Chancellor of Germany. After she came in contact with a doctor that was infected, she is currently on a self-quarantine. Her name was called. So what is big about calling Fatu's name when she has been tested positive of the virus? Is it because of her direct connection with the president? So should this fight against coronavirus be about status, about connection, fellow Liberians? Should this be about connection, fellow Liberians? Let me name for you some celebrities whose names were called. You know why I'm doing this? To kill the argument of stigmatization and confidentiality. You cannot. Your argument would have been valid if you didn't name anybody, but you have already named some people. Then you're refusing to name other people. You joking? Dr. Fala must name the 3 confirmed cases, the other 3 confirmed cases. That's our demand. Let me name a few celebrities whose names have been called. Number 1, Idris Elba. He's an actor. Idris Elba. His name has been called as a patient of COVID-19. Sabrina Dwar. She's a model and actress. Her name has been called. Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson, filmmakers and producer. Their names have been called. Donovan Mitchell, basketballer. His name has been called. Rudy Gobert, NBA star. His name has been called. Rachel Matthews, Hollywood star. Her name has been called. Kevin Durant, NBA star. He was tested positive of the virus. His name has been called. You want to talk about stigmatization and confidentiality? This is a global pandemic. It is a global issue now. It is a global issue. So there should be no sacred cow. If there aren't sacred cows in other countries, including world leaders, what more about protecting the name, the interest of President Weah and Fatu, his friend, his special friend Fatu? It is wrong, Dr. Mosoka Fala, and you need to stop. Join me to tell Dr. Mosoka Fala that the names of world leaders and high-profile celebrities have been called by health authorities in various countries. There should be nothing about hiding information from the public, because the public needs to be aware in order to prevent themselves. The people need to be aware in order to prevent themselves. So let Dr. Mosoka Fala call the names of those 3 confirmed cases. This is my new debate. I'm giving Dr. Mosoka Fala 24 hours to do that. The Liberian people must be aware about those other 3 confirmed cases. Call their names. The same way you call Nathaniel Blamani, a senior official of government, call Fatu names. She has been tested positive of the virus. Not because she has connect with the president. So you don't want to call her name because the presidency will be brought to public disrepute. It was President Weah who chose for the presidency to be brought to public disrepute by inviting Fatou from Germany. When the virus was raging in Germany at that time, the number of confirmed cases in Germany were over 13,000. When President Weah invited his special friend, she claimed to have come to Liberia on a business trip. Which business did she come to do when people are fighting for their lives? Which business did she come to do when people are fighting for their lives? We're talking about life, you're talking about business. The virus is killing thousands of people around the world, and you're talking about coming to Liberia to do business? She lied. When I raised the alarm, she responded, and she lied, claiming that she came to do her business. Until I posted a photo of Fatou and Weah standing together, and the other photo, she was sitting on his lap. Go on my page, the photos are there. I told you I don't say anything here with all facts, with all proof. Go on my page. The exchange between an insider, a reliable source, an insider, an exchange between that source and me. Go on my page is there, indicating that Fatou has been tested positive of the virus. President Weah is under surveillance. Saymah is under surveillance. Why are they not calling the names of the other 3 confirmed cases? That's my concern. Are you seeing the line of hypocrisy, dishonesty, fellow Liberians? We must demand them to call the names. We must demand them to call the names, fellow Liberians. It is important. So this is my caution to Dr. Fala. Dr. Fala needs to know that I'm aware, and the Liberian people are now aware through this platform, that Fatou Sharif, the special friend of the president, has been tested positive. The president is under surveillance. The Minister of Finance, Saymah, is under surveillance. Tell Dr. Fala we are aware, and he must call the names of those other 3 confirmed cases, because I have already given the information to the Liberian people. I have already given the information to the Liberian people. And now the character of Dr. Fala is questionable. His character is questionable. When President Weah spoke to the nation on the 16th of March this year, what did he say? In his public proclamation, the president named 10 rules, 10 measures to fight against this virus. As part of those measures, he said there should be no travel to and from countries with more than 200 cases. Are you hearing me, Liberians? President Weah said to the nation that there should be no more than 200, that there should be no travel. No one should travel to and from countries with more than 200 cases. In less than 1 day, President Weah broke his own rule by inviting Fatou from Germany. At that time, Germany had more than 13,000 cases. Fatou traveled from Germany. She transited in Belgium through Brussels. From Belgium through Brussels Airlines, she came to Liberia. On the 16th, she started her journey. She arrived in Liberia on the 17th of March. I'm giving you all the details for you to be aware. For you to be aware how reliable and authentic this platform is. We do not just make wild claims. No, we do not just make wild claims. We deal in facts and truth-telling. On this platform, truth-telling is in surplus and not scarcity. This is why the platform is called Voices from Exile with Martin K. and Kollie. So let President Weah be aware that the people are aware. The people are aware that he's under surveillance and his special friend has been tested positive of the COVID-19. It is left with Dr. Fala to continue compromising his professional ethics. It is left with him to continue compromising the canon of the of the medical profession. He took oath. He took oath to protect lives and ensure to keep the standards of his profession. Unfortunately, he is compromising those very same standards he took oath to protect. Two sides of a doctor. This is why I am calling on him now to disengage and call the names of those other 3 confirmed cases. He needs to call the names of those other 3 confirmed cases, my people. Now, the second talking point on this platform today, fellow Liberians, the second talking point, the withdrawal of Weah's nominee or the rejection of Weah nominee? That's the question. Do you consider that a withdrawal? You know, you saw a release yesterday from the executive mansion indicating that President Weah has withdrawn his nominee for the chairmanship of the National Elections Commission, Dubusi Buduki, right? I just posted his national identification card on my page. Go on my page, you will see it. This guy is a fraud. On his national identification card, you know, it's really unfortunate. It's really unfortunate. President Weah has reduced the prestige of the presidency to criminality. President Weah has reduced the status, the prestige, the integrity, the impeccability of the presidency to criminality. He has reduced the presidency to criminality. It's unfortunate, fellow Liberians. Public service has been reduced to the lowest ebb on this ex-soccer star who has zero knowledge in leadership and governance. Zero knowledge. Where is the country going, fellow Liberians? Where is Liberia going? That's the question I want to ask all of you witnessing this podcast. Where is Liberia going under President Weah? How can you appoint a Nigerian fraudster? How can you appoint a Nigerian criminal called Nubusi Nwambudiki to such a strategic post of national importance without any remorse, simply because you want to have a lot of criminals around you, President Weah? President Weah lacks criminal. He likes to bring criminal around him. Look at Emmanuel Shaw. Emmanuel Shaw is his most senior advisor. Emmanuel Shaw was the one who sold the Liberian aeroplane. He was the one who sold the Liberian aeroplane or airplane. This is Weah's senior advisor. Look at Weah's advisors around him. Look at Solicitor General Syrenius Cephus. He's a criminal, a petty crook. Then look at Dubusi again. He was taking Dubusi from place to place. In less than 2 years, he appointed Dubusi to 2 different tenure positions. He took Dubusi from the Good Governance Commission to the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission. Another tenure position. He took him from LACC. He appointed him to the National Elections Commission. Another tenure position. In less than 2 years, you are taking this criminal from place to place in public service, Mr. Weah. You have brought the presidency to public disrepute and disgrace. You have brought the presidency to public disrepute, Mr. Weah, and disgrace. And you must be blamed for this. You know the message that has gone out. You know that your appointment, your latest appointment, has brought the integrity of the presidency into public disrepute. You think it only affects Dubusi? It affects the prestige of our presidency. Since you came to power, Mr. Weah, you continue to bring the prestige of the presidency downward to the lowest ebb. The presidency continues to stoop low. Honor your leadership as CRC of the Armed Forces of Liberia. 2 sides of a president, 2 sides of a nation, 2 sides of a government. 2 sides of a government, fellow Liberians. When we talk these things, you claim that I hate President Weah, I hate CDC. You think I hate President Weah? You think I hate CDC? But I love the people more than I love President Weah. I love the people, I love my country more than I love President Weah. Because when there was no President Weah, there was Liberia. And there were Liberian people. If President Weah leaves the presidency, there will still be Liberia and there will still be Liberian people. So I love my people, I love my country, then I love the president. The office of the presidency will still exist, whether President Weah is there or not. It is sad that this president, since becoming leader of the country, continues to repute, continues to malign, continues to undermine the integrity and impeccability of the presidency, fellow Liberians. Look at his appointments. It simply tells you the kind of people President Weah has been appointing in government. People with zero integrity, people with zero moral value, people with zero commitment, zero accountability, zero transparency. Those are the kind of people President Weah has been appointing. Those are the kind of people President Weah has been appointing, fellow Liberians. And it is unfortunate. How can you appoint a man like Dubusi? Even when the public said President Weah withdraw your nomination, you could not. You just withdrew yesterday. So should we consider that as a withdrawal, a sincere withdrawal, fellow Liberians? For me, I want to say no. So the question I want to answer is, was it a withdrawal of his nominee or a rejection? Did Weah actually withdraw or the Senate rejected? Fellow Liberians, are you listening to the question? Did President Weah actually withdraw or the Senate rejected by practice? In my opinion, fellow Liberians, the latter will suffice. The Senate rejected before the withdrawal of the president. Are you aware that almost every segment or almost every stratum of the Liberian society spoke against this nominee, this Nigerian mafia? Are you aware? Are you aware that everyone, almost every Liberian from every spectrum of life spoke against this Weah's nominee for the chairmanship of the National Elections Commission? Are you aware? Civil society actors spoke against the nominee. Ambassadors spoke against the nominee. Activists, like some of us, we spoke against the nominee. Liberians, ordinary and eminent Liberians, spoke against the nominee. Liberians in the diaspora spoke against the nominee. Former and current government officials, some of them spoke directly and indirectly against the nominee. Lawmakers spoke against the nominee. Do you know how many people spoke against this particular nominee? President Weah insisted that that's the nominee he wanted as chairman of the National Elections Commission. There were 2 different public hearings at the legislature because of the insistence of this president that Dubuisi Nwambudiki must be kept as his preferred choice for the chairmanship of the National Elections Commission. And the only reason why he was insisting is because he wants to rig the elections in 2020 and 2023. He wants to rig the elections. Fellow Liberians, keep hitting the share button. The only reason why he was insisting on the fact that this Nigerian criminal of a lawyer should be the chairman of the National Elections Commission is because President Weah has already set in place a game plan, a conspiracy to dubiously rig the 2020 senatorial midterm election as well as the 2023 general and presidential elections. Are you aware, fellow Liberians? You know, I take my time to research, to analyze, to investigate, to fact check. And all of the cogent analysis I usually bring to you on this platform, Voices from Exile with Martin K. and Kollie, you can do your own investigation. You will find out that all of them are accurate, very accurate and reliable information. Dubuisi is a criminal, and you saw how we exposed him. Just 2 days ago, I broke the news of his fake citizenship certificate. I posted it on my page. Dubuisi claims to be a naturalized Liberian, and he has been defrauding our system for years. Almost 40 years he has been defrauding our system. This Nigerian criminal of a lawyer has been defrauding our system for 40 years. Few hours ago, I just posted his national ID card. He has given us 4 different dates of birth. Go on my page. You'll see his ID card. I just posted a copy of his national ID card, photocopy of his national ID card. Go on my page, it's there. He doesn't know how I get all of these things. And none of you know how I get all of these information to post them for your consumption. None of you know. My sources are reliable. The information, the news I'm about to break again, when you hear it, you'll know that my sources are really reliable. I have international sources as well as national sources. They feed me with information every day. They feed me with accurate information, reliable information every day. So when I come on this podcast, I'm only informing you about what's happening in Liberia and out of Liberia. And I'm giving you cogent analysis based on my research, based on my investigation, and based on what I call fact-checking. So I'm telling you, fellow Liberians, that President Weah did not withdraw. You cannot call that withdrawal. In fact, we should be telling all of you thank you for putting pressure on the government, especially the national legislature through the Senate, to not even consider this Nigerian criminal of a lawyer. Thanks to all of you. I want to appreciate you. All of you witnessing this podcast, thanks. Thanks for your public pressure. You know, public perception matters in the context of good governance. Public perception matters. Let me inform you today, those of you who did courses in leadership, political science, and public administration. There's something called public perception. Public perception in any governance system matters a lot. Public perception, because the power President Weah has belongs to the people, according to Article 1 of the 1986 Constitution. So when the people speak and say we do not want this, the president must be in a position to listen immediately. But he didn't listen all those days the people spoke. Just yesterday he said he withdrew because the Senate rejected practically his nominee. You monitor the last hearing. The confirmation hearing, they didn't go far off, and they told Dubusi to leave the stand because he could not provide anything tangible. That was outright rejection already. So there was no need for President Weah to say he's withdrawing. The Senate had already rejected. You know, in law, I'm not a student of law, neither do I claim to be a legal scholar or a paralegal. But in law, there are two fundamental doctrines I want to interpret. One doctrine is called the doctrine of de facto, and another doctrine is the doctrine of de jure. These are two Latin doctrines in the context of jurisprudence. In law, what does de facto mean? It means something that has happened in practice, but not legal. If something is practically happening, but not legal, in the context of law, it is de facto. And that Latin word de facto means in fact. De jure, the doctrine of de jure, it means by law. So anything that happens by law, anything that is legal in the context of law and fundamental legality, it is called de jure. So the action of the Senate, though the Senate did not write formally to the president indicating that your nominee is rejected based on these reasons, right? But practically, in the context of de facto, the action of the Senate was a clear rejection. The man was speaking, justifying his case and providing reasons why he's a naturalized Liberian, when the Senate just cut the section off and said, you have no proof of these things, and you are inconsistent. The Senate prematurely cut the section off, abruptly cut the section off and told him to leave. He had nothing to say. Go on my page and look at his national identification card, for example. This is a guy who said he got his certificate of naturalization or his certificate of citizenship in 1982. At that time, he was 17 years of age. And do you know what our law said? According to this 1973 Alien and Nationality Law of Liberia, Section 21, go and read. The law is very clear. Before you even apply for naturalization as an alien or a foreigner of Negro descent, you must obtain the age of 21 years of age. So the man said in 1982, he got his certificate of citizenship, and he was born 1965. So it means he was 17 years of age. So he was not qualified to have obtained the certificate of naturalization or to apply for naturalization in Liberia. That's the first thing. He even violated the law. And he committed a number of crimes, and one of them is perjury. He lied on an oath. But we'll come to a number of crimes he committed. I just wrote an article. I've levied 5 charges, criminal charges against Dubusi, Weah's nominee for chairmanship at the level of the National Elections Commission. Don't go away. Keep hitting the share button. I will give you 5 legal charges, criminal charges against Dubusi Nwambudike. Don't go away, fellow Liberians. I'm telling you that what the president did, calling a withdrawal, is not a withdrawal. The nominee had already been rejected by the senators or by the House of Senate. Alrighty. They told him to leave the witness stands. Because he could not justify his claim of being a naturalized Liberian. And to become chairman of the National Elections Commission, go and read the 2014 new electoral law, section 2.1. I'm being very specific with facts. I don't come on this platform and just talking here, there for my off my head. No. I can give you citations. I gave you sources, references, facts, and cogent analysis. Go and read section 2.1 of the 2014 new electoral law of Liberia before you become any one of the 7 commissioners, because there are 7 commissioners of the National Elections Commission, or there should be 7 commissioners. And the law says, before you even become a commissioner of the National Elections Commission, you should be a Liberian. Either a Liberian by birth or a Liberian by naturalization. But never in our history has a Liberian by naturalization served such a post. Chairman of the National Elections Commission. Never. Even in the last 35 years, from 1985 up to 2017. Because from 1985 up to 2017, Liberia had 5 different general and presidential elections. We had one election in 1985. We had one election in 1997. We had one election in 2005. We had another election in 2011. And the latest election was in 2017. All of the past election commission chairs, all of the past chairmen of NEC have been natural-born citizens. None has served as naturalized citizens since 1847. So by tradition and precedence, the decision of President Weah to prefer a Nigerian criminal or a Nigerian calling himself naturalized citizen was legally inappropriate and logically inept. So let's go further. The Senate rejected his nomination and he didn't withdraw. That's a fair opinion. That's a fair opinion. The Senate rejected Weah's nominee. Weah did not withdraw. You know who all spoke against this nominee and Weah couldn't withdraw him at that time? Just yesterday, out of shame, out of disgrace, because the presidency has been brought to public disrepute. Out of disgrace, he wrote a letter withdrawing this Nigerian criminal of a lawyer who has already duped our system. He duped the system, fellow Liberians. And this is unfair. This is unfair not only to Liberia, but this is unfair to all of you Liberians, tax-paying citizens. For a Nigerian to dupe our entire system. The man has, quote-unquote, certificate of naturalization. The man has our national ID card. The man has our passport. Can you imagine? He's not a citizen, but he's having all of these documents. Our systems are weak. From the executive, the balcony of the executive, to the rotunda of the national legislature, our systems are weak. Going to the judiciary, the flow of the judiciary, our systems are weak. And this is why I'm calling for an urgent legislative, judicial, and electoral reform. This process must take place now to strengthen our governance system. The executive needs to be reformed as well. We need to reform some of our laws. Those laws are archaic and inapplicable in this time and age. Fellow Liberians, are you listening? So what President Weah called withdrawal yesterday is not a withdrawal, because the nominee, in fact, the nominee was rejected at the level of the Liberian Senate before President Weah could withdraw. So in the context of de facto, in the context of the doctrine of de facto, the nominee was rejected, even though senators didn't do a formal letter to the president telling him that this nominee has been rejected. They were already in the process of writing the president that this nominee for chairmanship of NEC is hereby rejected. The president passed beyond them and wrote a withdrawal letter. So we are not considering your withdrawal letter, Mr. President. Because when we told you to withdraw this nominee, you refused. You insisted the nominee went through 2 different public hearings at the level of the legislature. It was only when one of the hearings was abruptly cut off because the nominee were providing conflicting information and falsehood. That was when you withdrew yesterday your nominee, quote-unquote, for the chairmanship of the National Elections Commission. Why are you treating the Liberian people like this, Mr. Weah? He has diplomatic passport, yes. Are you aware that he has our diplomatic passport? Are you aware that he has our national ID card? Are you aware that he has documents from some of our public schools and institutions, including the University of Liberia? Are you aware? So you see how this Nigerian guy duped our entire system? Defrauded our entire system? For years, more than 20 years? Are you hearing this, fellow Liberians, especially those of you living in the diaspora? We need to speak truth to power. And this is my work, fellow Liberians. Every day, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I come on by 7:30 p.m. Liberian time to speak truth to power and provide the facts and deliver the information to my people. This is a national obligation. The onus is upon me to ensure that our people are not deceived, to ensure that our country doesn't move in the direction of a counterclockwise position. No, I wouldn't sit there and allow a few group of political elites, unpatriotic or nationalistic characters to undermine the collective social, economic, and political destiny of our people. If I do this, I will be disloyal to my conscience, my country, and the next generation. Seditian King, thank you. Alicia F. Tiller, thank you for joining us. Frederick Johnson, Tata Saul, thanks to all of you. You know how crucial and critical elections are? You know the National Elections Commission can lead a country to crisis, can lead a country to war, or can maintain peace. Are you aware? You are bringing a Nigerian criminal to rig the election for you because you have become unpopular in less than 2 years as a result of greed, corruption, nepotism, patronage, sectarianism, tribalism. That's who President Weah is. He is a tribal bigot. Look at high positions in government. They are occupied by his kinsmen and women. Ministry of Finance from Southeast. You know the people from Southeast are very good people and I love them. But this president from Southeast is very segregational. He's discriminatory. He's discriminatory. AIRReT, Liberia Revenue Authority from Southeast. Central Bank Governor from Southeast. Top positions he gave to his kinsmen, people from his region. Instead of distributing positions on the basis of geographical balance, he gave position directly to people who are loyal to him. Look at the minister of, let's go to his minister of Post and Telecommunications, Southeast. Let's go to APRC, Southeast. I'm doing a list of all of the senior government officials who are from the Southeast. More than 30 of them occupying key government positions because he wants them to be loyal to him. He doesn't want to do the right thing. Because he doesn't want to do the right thing, he often brings loyalists, sycophantic loyalists. He often brings criminals around him. That's who President Weah is. That's who President Weah is. That is his genetic makeup. That is his genetic makeup, man, people. Look at what he was going to do to us. Look at the Nigerian he preferred to preside over our elections. We are going to run into crisis, fellow Liberians. Our country was definitely going to run into crisis because this is a guy who has two loyalties, even if he was a Liberian citizen. By naturalization, still he's unfit to occupy that position because of his dual loyalty or allegiance. He was born in Nigeria. He claimed to have naturalized in Liberia. His loyalty is still with Nigeria. Nobody disowns his country of birth. Have you seen that, fellow Liberians? Nobody, let me tell you today, nobody disowns his root or his country of birth. I want to see who does that. Nobody. You think Dubuzi will willingly lose his loyalty to his country of birth, Nigeria, for Liberia? That would not happen, fellow Liberians. So even if Dubuisi was a naturalized citizen, the decision of President Weah to prefer him as the chairman of NEC is still wrong. It's wrong in the context of the duality of allegiance. Dual allegiance, dual loyalty. Dual loyalty. Fellow Liberians, some of you need to read Luke, not Luke, but Matthew 6:24. Matthew 6:24. Let me go biblical a bit. Read Matthew 6:24. No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate one and love the other one. I'm going biblical now, my people. Matthew 6:24. Even if Dubuisi was a naturalized Liberian, the decision to prefer him as chairman of the National Elections Commission, who had been wrong still, who had been legally unscrupulous in the context of dual allegiance. No one can serve two masters at the same time. Either he will love one and hate the other. Matthew 6:24, for those of you who are Christians. Go and read Matthew 6:24. Even if Dubuisi was a naturalized citizen, the president who had been wrong in the context of conflict of interest. Conflict of interest. Dubuisi has been the long-time legal counsel or lawyer of President Weah. He has been the legal counsel of President Weah for years. He, along with the current Justice Minister Musa Dean, were the lawyers that represented the National Elections Commission and CDC against the Liberty Party in 2017. During the case filed by Councillor Bronski against NEC and CDC relative to electoral fraud. He was one of those lawyers who represented CDC and NEC. So in the context of conflict of interest, which is in violation of section 1.3 subsection 6 of the 2014 Code of Conduct, the decision of President Weah was going to still be wrong. Are you listening to me, fellow Liberians? This Nigerian criminal of a lawyer is the personal lawyer, or was the personal lawyer of President Weah for years. He was sent by President Weah along with the current Justice Minister Musa Dean to represent the legal interests of the National Elections Commission. When the Liberty Party of Councillor Charles Bronski filed a legal case against NEC and CDC for electoral fraud and malpractices in 2017. This was the same man President Weah was bringing to serve as chairman of the National Elections Commission. So Dubuisi was not even fit. Dubuisi was not even fit to have served that post. And in a few minutes after this show, I'm going to publish a 20-page argument why Dubuisi was not fit. And in my 20-page argument, I considered 3 different tests. It is called the tripartite test. It is called, I posted an abstract of the paper I'm about to publish, 20 pages, justifying why Dubuisi was unfit to serve such a strategic position of national importance that was created, or that is created by law in our Constitution, Article 89 of the 1986 Constitution, and Section 2.1 of the 2014 New Electoral Law. Let me just give you the tests I managed to have run to justify why Dubuisi was unfit, fellow Liberians. Now, I ran a test called the tripartite test. After this show, I'm going to publish a 20-page argument, and I hope you take your time to read. Take your time, at your lesser time. Read my 20-page legal and logical argument. Right? Take time to read that argument. I took Dubuisi through 3 different tests, and he failed those tests. The acronym of the test is CRM. Citizenship, integrity, and morality. CRM. That's the acronym of the test I took Dubuisi through. It is called the tripartite test. Number 1, the citizenship test, Dubuisi failed. The morality test, he failed. And the integrity test, he failed. 3 different tests. I took this Nigerian criminal of a lawyer through, and he failed all these 3 tests. And under these 3 tests, I have 10 different contexts or parameters to justify why Dubuisi failed my tripartite test. And the 10 contexts or backgrounds are delivered in this paper, which I'm about to publish after this podcast, are citizenship dilemma. Number 2, legal logic. Number 3, international best practice. In the context of international best practice, the preferment of President Weah was inappropriate. Number 4, precedent and tradition. Number 5, expediency and public perception. Number 6, flawed testimony. Number 7, fake documentation. Number 8, the duality of allegiance. Number 9, zero integrity and conflict of interest. Then number 10, I charged Dubuisi with 5 charges, criminal charges. 5 criminal charges, and we are getting there after a year. And I hope the Ministry of Justice is listening. I hope the Supreme Court is listening. I hope the Liberian National Bar Association is also listening. I hope the Liberian Senate is listening. I hope the Liberian National Police, as well as the Liberian Immigration Service, I hope they are listening, because Dubuisi has brought the reputation, the integrity, the credibility of these public institutions into public disrepute. The credibility of all these institutions I'm naming is currently in public disrepute. Questionable reputation, questionable integrity, questionable credibility as a result of this Nigerian criminal of a lawyer defrauding our system for more than 20 years. These are systems he passed through. These are public institutions he passed through. He took off on some of them to pass through, to defraud the system, to collude the system. To collude the system, fellow Liberians. Keep hitting the share button. Invite someone to come on. Invite someone to come on so that the person can listen to my 5 charges, criminal charges against Dubuisi. Even though the Ministry of Justice is yet to draw any indictment against Dubuisi, but I'm about to draw an indictment against Dubuisi. I wrote an analysis not too long, 5 charges against Dubuisi. The analysis is on Facebook. Go on Facebook, fellow Liberians, you'll see the analysis. I just posted it like 2 hours ago. It's on my page on Facebook. Let me see whether I can post the link on this podcast. I indicted Dubuisi using 5 criminal charges. 5 criminal charges. 5 criminal charges, Liberians. And the title of my analysis I just published, if I were the Minister of Justice, 5 criminal charges against Dubuisi Nwambudike by Martin K. and Kollie activists and columnists. You need to read this piece, fellow Liberians. You need to read this piece I wrote. A very intriguing piece, well researched. I held Dubuisi on 5 charges because now he has been rejected. I don't want to use the word withdrawn because what the president did was just a form of mimicking. The Senate had already rejected Dubuisi. Practically, in practice, he was rejected, even though a formal letter was not written to inform the president that his nominee was rejected. But in practice, in as much the section he went to justify his claim as a naturalized Liberian was disrupted, was interrupted, was cut off prematurely because he could not justify anything, that was a form of rejection in practice, in the context of de facto, and not in the context of de jure. Because in the context of de jure, a formal communication should be written to the president, according to legislative politics. But because the Senate was in the process of doing this formal letter, and President Weah passed beyond the Senate and did a letter of withdrawal, that's why we considered this as a rejection and not a withdrawal, as President Weah wants us to believe. As President Weah wants us to believe. Fellow Liberians, I want you to hit the share button as I go to the 5 charges I have levied against Dubuisi Nwambudike. Just hit the share button. Invite someone on. I want you to invite someone on before I start. Just invite someone on. All of us are about to charge Dubuisi since the Ministry of Justice doesn't want to. I don't know what they are waiting for. I don't know what they are waiting for. To even relieve him of his position at the level of the Liberian Anti-Corruption Commission. What are they waiting for, fellow Liberians? What are they waiting for? To relieve this man of his position at the level of the Liberian Anti-Corruption Commission. Should he be presiding over an integrated institution like LACC? An institution intended to fight public graft or public corruption? Should he be presiding over that institution when he is a criminal, a hardcore criminal? You tell me. Those of you witnessing this podcast, up to now, he has not been relieved of his position or be compelled to resign. You see how the people running the government? You see how we are running the government, my people? Does President Weah really love this country? He claims to have the country in his heart. Does he really have the country in his heart, or he has the country in his foot? Does President Weah have Liberia in his heart, or he has Liberia in his foot? Those of you who witnessing this podcast, tell me today. Because all of the decisions President Weah have been taking, all of the decisions President Weah has been taking are all flawed decisions, pointing to misrule, misapplication, misappropriation, violation of our laws. Sure, Blamoto, thank you for informing us. Blamoto is saying someone hinted the president about the rejection letter. You see? So he ran to quickly write a letter of withdrawal because he had been hinted. The man should be in police custody by now, Mr. President. Why are you wasting time to arrest him? Why are you wasting time to charge him and persecute him under the laws of Liberia? For 20 years, this man got away with fraud. He beat our system. He made his way through, benefited immensely from fraud. Now the fraud has been detected, the thief has been caught, and you are still having him at LACC? With all of what he did to Liberia and Liberians? Can this be a serious government, fellow Liberians? Sure, Emmanuel Jesse, de jure is by law, while de facto is in practice, right? But not by law. An act that is in practice, but not by law. That is done in practice, but not by law. Do we have a government, fellow Liberians? In my mind, I don't think so. I don't think we have a government. What we have is a shadow of a government. In my opinion, what we have, fellow Liberians, is a shadow of a government and not a government. That's why nobody takes President Weah seriously. You know why Liberia is being isolated by the war, including friendly nations? Because people still see President Weah as a mere footballer and not a president, not a head of state, because the decisions he himself takes, those decisions do not resemble decisions of a head of state. You know what it means to be a head of state? That's why I said on Focus Liberia yesterday in an interview, on Focus on Liberia yesterday in an interview, I said that President Weah mistook the executive mansion for SKD Stadium. The executive mansion was actually mistaken for a stadium. After 2 years, the president has just discovered that the executive mansion is not a stadium. Too shameful of the president to keep appointing inept, incompetent, unfit, immoral people to public offices of trust. Too shame of the president. Too shame of the president, fellow Liberians. Too shame of the president. That's why I'm asking all of you whether this president really has the country in his heart or in his feet. You need to answer me. Where is Liberia? In the heart of President Weah or in his feet? Because I don't think the country is in his heart. If the country is really in his heart, some of these bad decisions, bad precedents he continued to set will be avoided if he really loves Liberia, if he really claims to love Liberia. Some of these bad decisions, bringing criminals around you to rob the country, to pillage the resources of the country, will not be allowed if we are really lost Liberia. After 2 years, where are we? The lives of our people are declining exponentially. The lives of our people are miserable, far miserable than before. Look at the livelihood of our people. Our people have become mere beggars under this president who said he was going to empower Liberians and ensure that they take ownership of their economy. All of these promises have become unfulfilled promises. Unfulfilled promises. Where is the coastal highway? Where is the mineral resource swap? Where are the 9,000 Nigerian teachers? Where is the Twin City on Bali Island? Where are the 7 mini stadiums in 7 counties? Where are the 2,000 street lights? Where are the 400 lights on our IA highway? Where is the estate in West Point? The estate of 200 housing units. Where is it in West Point? Where is the rehabilitation center for youth outbreaks? My people, you want me to name a lot of promises he made? Watch next podcast on Monday. This Monday, I will outline more than 100 promises made by Weah. He hasn't even fulfilled 2%. He hasn't even fulfilled 2%. He hasn't even fulfilled 2%. And this is shameful after 24 months. This is the 28th month of President Weah being in power since January 2018. People are losing their jobs. Hospitals are closing. Our people are dying from curable diseases at these hospitals due to financial constraint. Some hospitals are literally begging residents of various communities to put money together to sponsor hospitals, public hospitals. Infant mortality rate is increasing. Maternal mortality rate is increasing. Our people do not have food. Liberians have become the 8th hungriest people in the world, according to the UNDP World Hunger Report. The 4th poorest as well. Why should you be poor, Liberians, when you have gold, when you have diamond, when you have a virgin forest? Why should you be poor when you have rubber, when you have timber, when you have land, millions of hectares of arable land? Why should you even be importing rice, your staple food? This tells you that your leaders lack vision. They lack vision. They have got a lot to learn from some African presidents like John Pombe Magufuli of Tanzania. Your leaders in Liberia have a lot to learn from Paul Kagame of Rwanda. Your leaders have a lot to learn from President Marabi of Sierra Leone. Your leaders in Liberia have a lot to learn from President Nana Akufo-Addo of Ghana. Your leaders in Liberia have a lot to learn from the president of Ethiopia. Oh yes, they have a lot to learn. They lack vision. They lack vision. They lack integrity. They lack loyalty to the nation. They lack patriotism. They lack nationalism. They love themselves more than they love the people. They love themselves more than they love the country. That's why they are looting your resources. In less than 24 months under President Weah, the net foreign reserve of the country has reduced from 152 million United States dollars to 21 million. How come, Mr. Weah? You must account, and a day is coming, all of you will account for your service. All of you will account. One day a serious, patriotic, and competent leadership will come to power. One day, and that day is nearing, when all of you will be called to account for your misrule. That day is coming. Florence Kollie, welcome. Hey, my sister, Mona Koti. Always on. Favor highly. Thanks to all of you for joining me. This is Voices from Exile with Martin K. Kollie, an activist, a columnist, and emerging economist. It's always my pleasure to have all of you on. We are talking Liberia. We are talking Africa and the rest of the world. We are delivering some intriguing facts and cogent analysis for your consumption. And it is always good to have you on, fellow Liberians. Whether you are in America, whether you are in Canada, France, Germany, Sweden, Holland, whether you are in Ghana, Nigeria, South Africa, whether you are in Asia, whichever part of the world you are, we want to invite you to this podcast. This is a tri-weekly podcast. We come on every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday by 7:30 p.m. Liberian time. And it is always our pleasure to have you on, fellow Liberians. Is dying. Your country is dying. The country is at the verge of. We cannot sit at the marauding destruction of our country. We need to fight for it. We must fight for Liberia. We must fight to rescue our nation. This is the time. I want to call on all of you wherever you are. See how our system has been defrauded by a Nigerian man, people. See how. And the enablers of this fraud, I want to name the enablers, those who enabled this fraud for all these years. Chief Justice Francis Papa is one of those who contributed to this fraudulent character called Dubuzi Nwambu-Dibuki. Chief Justice Francis Papa continues to compromise his judicial canon. I'm saying this without fear or favor. Those of you who know the Chief Justice, tell the Chief Justice that he continues to compromise the ethics and high standards of the position he currently serves. I'm not missing my words on this. This was the very same Chief Justice who presided over the illegal impeachment of Justice Janet. This is the very same Chief Justice who wrote a letter of recommendation for this criminal of a lawyer called Dubusi. You listened to Dubusi during the confirmation hearing. He said the Chief Justice of Liberia, Francis Papa, wrote a letter of recommendation. And it is that letter of recommendation he has been using to defraud our system. So those who aided and abetted this criminal of a lawyer called Dubusi Nwambu-Dibuki must also be accountable. And Chief Justice Papa is one of those who must be held accountable for writing a letter of recommendation for this criminal of a lawyer. On what basis did the Chief Justice write a letter of recommendation for this criminal? So the man has not been showing his fake citizenship certificate. He has been showing that letter. Do you know what it means for the Chief Justice to write a letter of recommendation for someone, especially an alien, like that Nigerian criminal? On what basis? Was the Chief Justice bribed? Because we expect a Chief Justice. You know what it means to be Chief Justice? You are keen to every details. You are keen about every detail. You are keen, very scrupulous and judicial about your function. Somebody comes to you asking you to do a letter of recommendation. You don't investigate. You don't even investigate the man's past record. You just do a letter of recommendation quickly and give it to you. On what basis, Mr. Chief Justice? At the hearing, he wanted to link Cllr Vanisham. Cllr Vanisham said no, he didn't write any letter for him. He could only show the letter from the Chief Justice, letter of recommendation, showing that he's a citizen, therefore he must be admitted at the University of Liberia. That letter of recommendation was done when he was seeking admittance at the University of Liberia. The letter of recommendation in the possession of this criminal of a lawyer called Dubusi Nwambu-Dibuki was done by the Chief Justice when Dubusi was seeking admission at the University of Liberia's law school, the Louis Arthur Graham School of Law. And he also used that letter to go to the graduate program of the University of Liberia where he did regional science and public policy. Are you listening? So he used that letter wherever he went. And it is that letter that the Chief Justice wrote in his behalf, recommending him to any institution that he may be seeking opportunity from, that he used to defraud our system. So the Chief Justice must be held accountable. Those of you who know the Chief Justice, tell him that activist Martin Kollie in Exile says you should be held accountable for doing a letter without investigating. The Chief Justice should be a man of integrity. The Chief Justice should be a man of judicial capacity. You know what it means to be Chief Justice? You should not only be scrupulous, but you should be judicial in your function. On what basis, Mr. Chief Justice, did you give a letter of recommendation to this criminal that he used to defraud all of our systems and all of our institutions? On what basis? Join me to ask the Chief Justice. Join me to ask the Chief Justice. Join me to ask the Chief Justice. Go on Data Observer. Data Observer talk about a letter written by the Chief Justice in behalf of this criminal of a lawyer, a non-Liberian citizen who fraudulently claimed to be a Liberian and beat all our systems and institutions, got his way through without anybody detecting, until we raised alarm about the controversies about relative to his citizenship before we got to know that he's not a citizen. Before we got to know, the man already had our diplomatic passport. Before we got to know, the man already had our national ID card. Go on my page, I just posted his national ID card with his full name. His full name is on the national ID card. Let me call his full name because all of you only know Dubusi Nwambudike. I'm going to call his full name. The full name of this fraudster, I'm going to call his full name, fellow Liberians. The full name of this fraudster is A. Dubusi. The A stands for Augustine. A. Dubusi Kuwaka. Kuwuka. Kuwaka Nwambudike. That's his full name. On his ID card, go on my page. It's there. It's on my page. That's his full name. The man used a letter from the Chief Justice to pass through all of our systems. So he has given 4 different days of birth. One human being has 4 different days of birth, fellow Liberians. Are you listening? 4 different days of birth. On the national ID card I just posted, his date of birth is February 10, 1969. On the passport he has, the diplomatic passport that he also delivered to the legislature, he has February 10, 1963. On his academic transcript from the University of Liberia, he has February 10, 1964. Then he told us at the public hearing, when he was being vetted by senators, he said he got his certificate of citizenship in 1982, and he was born 1965. So that means the 4th day of birth he has is February 10, 1965. One man having 4 different dates of birth. You are born. Which creature in the world was born on 4 different dates? You know, the only thing the Busi can tell me I believe it, fellow Liberian. The only thing the Busi can tell me I believe it, that his mother is a female, is a woman. Besides anything he tell me I can't believe it. The only thing the Busi can tell me I believe it. Right? His mother, his biological mother, is a female. It's a female. That's the only thing I can believe for him. This was the man who was going to serve as your commissioner chairman of the National Elections Commission. This was the man who was going to qualify candidates. This was the man who was going to register Liberians to vote. This was the man who was going to determine who votes, who doesn't vote. Please do not call me. I'm on a podcast. Usually I'm on this podcast. Seditious can be calling me to disrupt the podcast. Please stop. Are you aware, fellow Liberians? So the man used a letter from the Chief Justice, the letter of recommendation from the Chief Justice, to enroll at the University of Liberia. He did 2 different degrees. One degree, he got LLB, Bachelor of Law degree, from the Louis Arthur Graham School of Law. And he got a master's degree in regional planning from the Graduate School of the University of Liberia. But somebody is just sent, one of the lawyers just sent me an information that again, he falsified his transcript. Because on his transcript, he has a lot of A's. The lawyer is saying, I'm not going to call the name of the lawyer. Dubusi falsified his transcript, and the University of Liberia is currently investigating. Wow. So my people, you see, he falsified his transcript. He falsified his transcript. Wow. This guy is a real criminal, a hardcore criminal. This was a man who was going to be an election commissioner's chair. Liberia is in trouble, my people. Liberia is in real trouble. So, I have charged Dubusi in this analysis I provided. But before going to the analysis I provided, I just want to say to the Chief Justice, he needs to answer on what basis he gave this letter of recommendation to Dubusi that Dubusi was using at various institutions to defraud our systems. On what basis? On what basis, Mr. Chief Justice? It was that letter that Dubusi used to go and obtain a national ID card. It was that letter Dubusi used, claiming that he's a Liberian, to go and receive a diplomatic passport. It was that letter Dubusi used to not pay tuition at the University of Liberia as a foreign student. So he benefited as a naturalized Liberian, as a Liberian citizen. So he didn't pay fees as compared to foreign students at the University of Liberia. It is that letter Dubusi used to seek membership in the Liberian National Bar Association when he took oath as a Liberian citizen. Because no lawyer, nobody can serve as lawyer or practicing counsel in Liberia when you're not a Liberian. It was that letter Dubuisi used today that his lessons as a practicing lawyer. It was that letter he used to be confirmed as Executive Director of Good Governance Commission. It was that letter he used to be confirmed as Executive Chairperson of the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission. It was that letter he used to work with the United Nations. Do you know what it means for a Chief Justice to do a letter of recommendation for anybody for that matter? Nobody asks you a question. No. Considering the height, the stature of the Chief Justice. So the Chief Justice must be held accountable. Equally like President Weah, he must be held accountable for facilitating crime. The action of the Chief Justice has violated, let me tell you the part of the penal code the Chief Justice has violated by doing a letter of recommendation for this criminal. The Chief Justice has violated section 12.5 of subchapter A of the penal code of Liberia, which talk about aiding consummation of crime. The Chief Justice aided and abetted this criminal of a lawyer in Dubuisi, Noam Dibuke, to bypass all of our system, to take the detour. So those who aided and abetted this criminal must be held accountable equally as this criminal. The action of the Chief Justice, the action of President Weah, both of them are enablers. They enable this particular criminal to defraud our system for all. President Weah, long-time lawyer and booty, and the letter of recommendation for him. They enable this grave crime against the state. They must be held accountable as well. So let's go to the 5 charges I levied against Dubuisi, because the Ministry of Justice is acting slow, even though they know the law, but they are pretending not to know the law, what the law says, especially when such a criminal action involves. But because Dubuisi is connected to the president, because Dubuisi is a friend of the president, because Dubuisi is the personal legal counsel of the president, and this guy who the president sees, as his partner in crime, that's why he's not being prosecuted by now. He's not being arrested. Okay, you've withdrawn the man. So what next? The man is still serving as LACC. The man is not being arrested. The man is not being indicted. He's not being persecuted. He's not being jailed. Do you know how many crimes Dubuisi committed against Liberia and Liberians? So I have written an analysis. The title of the analysis is, if I were the Minister of Justice, 5 criminal charges against Dubuisi Nwambudike by Martin K. and Kollie, activists and columnists. Now, in my analysis, there are 5 charges I levied against this criminal of a lawyer. Those of you who are students of law, or those of you who are legal counsel, if I'm wrong, you tell me. Though I'm not a student of law, neither am I a legal scholar or a paralegal or an apprentice lawyer. No, I'm not. I'm an activist and an emerging economist. But I have done sufficient research. I have read sufficient literature. I have analyzed. I have written extensively. I have written dozens and hundreds of articles and analysis. So I have a grasp of the issues. Issues including issues in law. So I have done an analysis, right? Levying 5 charges against Weah's nominee or former nominee, because according to him, he has withdrawn the nominee, even though he was rejected already by the Senate. 5 charges against Weah's nominee. And the 5 charges are perjury, number 1, perjury, which is in accordance with section 12.30 of subchapter B, perjury. Perjury is a crime, it's a criminal offense. That's the first charge I have levied against defendant Dubuisi Nwambudike. Charge number 1, perjury. Perjury. If you read section 12.30 of subchapter B of the penal code, this is the penal code. Go to the penal code. And I want you to I want you to read the Penal Law, Liberian Codes, Revised Volume 4, Title 26, approved July 19, 1976, and published April 10, 1978. This is the law. This is the criminal law under which everyone who commits acts of criminality is persecuted. And the Busi is of no exception. Since the Ministry of Justice, under the leadership of Minister Musa Dean, doesn't want to draw an indictment for this criminal of a lawyer, I have drawn my own indictment, and there are 5 charges against the Busi, in line with the Penal Law, Liberian Codes, Revised Volume 4, Title 26, which was approved on July 19, 1976, and published into Handbill April 10, 1978. This is the law I'm quoting. Let's get to law, fellow Liberians. So what are my charges against the Busi? Perjury. Perjury. He has committed perjury. He has lied on an oath. And perjury in the law is at section 12.30 of subchapter B. The second charge against the Busi. And I will justify why perjury. I will justify all of my charges. Now I'm in the position of the plaintiff and as well as the legal counsel of the plaintiff, while the Busi is the defendant. The Busi must be persecuted for defrauding the state and the people of the state. So I'm in a position, in law, there are 2 sides. You have defendant, you have the plaintiff. The plaintiff is also the complainant, right? And the defendant is the accused. I'm not a student of law, but I'm just telling you what these basic legal principles are, right? So, in this case, I've drawn an indictment against the Busi with 5 charges. We are in the court now, fellow Liberians. Just hit the share button, invite more people. The Busi is the defendant. I'm the legal counsel of the plaintiff. But at the same time, I'm serving as the plaintiff, and I'm representing myself as the legal counsel. I'll file a complaint against the Busi at the level of the Supreme Court. Since the Ministry of Justice does not want to draw out an indictment for the Busi because of his connect with the president, I have drawn an indictment already. So all of you monitoring this podcast, share this video until it reaches the desk of the Minister of Justice, the Solicitor General, the desk of the Supreme Court, the Liberia National Bar Association, the Liberia National Police, the Liberia Immigration Service, the Liberian Senate, and all other institutions that the Busi defrauded. Now, so the second charge against the Busi, fellow Liberians, falsification. Falsification is contained in section 12.31 of subchapter B of the Penal Law of Liberia. The third charge I have levied against defendant Busi is called forgery. Forgery is in accordance or contained in section 15.70 of subchapter E. My third charge as the plaintiff and the legal counsel representing the plaintiff against defendant Busi is fraud. The Busi has committed fraud. And fraud is contained in section 15.50 subsection A of subchapter E of the Liberian Code Revised Penal Law of Liberia. And the last charge against the Busi is called criminal malevolence. Criminal malevolence is contained in section 11.14 of chapter 11. Are you hearing my charges, fellow Liberians? I'm the legal counsel representing the plaintiff against defendant Busi, a criminal of a lawyer who was recently preferred by President Weah to serve as chairman of the National Elections Commission. For those of you who just joined, let me name my charges again. I have drawn a formal indictment in behalf of the Ministry of Justice with 5 charges against the Busi, Noam Budike. Charge number 1, I'm going over them again. Charge number 1, perjury. Perjury is contained in section 12.30 of subchapter B of the Penal Law of Liberia. B, or number 2, falsification. Falsification is contained in section 12.31 or .31 of subchapter B. 3, fraud. Fraud is contained in section 15.50 subsection A of subchapter E of the Penal Law of Liberia. 4, fraud. He committed fraud. Yes, fraud is contained in section 15.50, subsection A of subchapter E of the Penal Law of Liberia. Dubuisi also committed a crime called criminal malevolence. This is the last criminal offense he committed. Criminal malevolence is contained in section 11.14 of chapter 11 of the Penal Law of Liberia. So these are the charges. And I'm going to tell you what these charges are in the context of the law. Fellow Liberians, keep hitting the share button. We are on today. This is Voices from Exile. Stick and stay with us. It is about Liberia and no one else. So, what is the first charge Dubuisi committed? Perjury. Perjury. I'm going to read what the provisions of these charges say according to the law. Listen very carefully. This is a teachable legal moment. This is a moment to learn the law. This is a moment to learn the law, especially the criminal law of the Republic of Liberia. So listen very carefully to all of the criminal offenses committed by Dubuisi. And I'm going to justify why he should be indicted and persecuted based on these charges. So perjury. According to section 12.30 of subchapter B, a person has committed perjury, a third-degree felony, if in official proceeding he makes a false statement on an oath or equivalent affirmation, or swears or affirms the truth of a false statement previously made, when the statement is material and he does not believe it to be true. So when somebody makes false statement on an oath, it's called perjury. So defendant Dubuisi has committed perjury. Why? Now this is my legal argument or my legal note. I call it legal note 1. I'm justifying why he has committed perjury. We are in the Supreme Court. And I'm the lawyer representing the plaintiff against defendant Dubuisi for defrauding the state and the Liberian people. Fellow Liberians, this is my argument why he has committed perjury. Defendant Dubuisi lied on an oath 4 different times about being a Liberian. The first time he lied on an oath was when he was licensed by the Supreme Court of the Republic of Liberia as a practicing lawyer. Before you become a practicing lawyer in the bounds and mix of Liberia, you must be a Liberian citizen either by birth or by naturalization, according to section 21.1 of the 1973 Alien and Naturalization Law. I'm quoting the law, fellow Liberians. I'm dealing in law, the law of Liberia, no other law. Take the law, let's reason together. Join me, let's reason together. Using legal authenticity and reliability to prove our claim against this Nigerian criminal of a lawyer. To prove our claim. I'm telling you why he committed perjury. He lied on an oath at the level of the Supreme Court. He was lessened by the Supreme Court because of this lie. He's not a Liberian citizen. He told them he's a Liberian citizen. He left from the Supreme Court. He went to the Liberia National Bar Association, seeking admission as a member. He lied on an oath because before you are admitted into the bar, you must take oath. He lied on an oath of being a Liberian, and before you become a member of the Bar Association, you must be a Liberian either by birth or naturalization. Are you hearing me, fellow Liberians? I'm justifying my argument, my legal argument in court against defendant Dubuisi. Dubuisi lied on an oath at the level of the National Bar Association, at the level of the Supreme Court, before he was licensed and before he got membership officially in the bar. Let's go to the Liberian Senate. Dubuisi firstly came for confirmation when he was appointed as Executive Director of the Governance Commission. For confirmation, when he was appointed Executive Director of the Good Governance Commission of the Republic of Liberia, he went to the Liberian Senate and lied on an oath for the 3rd time. He told them he was a Liberian citizen by naturalization. You know what he was using? The letter of recommendation he received from the Chief Justice of Liberia, Francis Kokpo. Francis Kokpo must also be held liable in line with the law for negligence and for also facilitation of crime. He facilitated this. He was one of those. He, President Weah, and others facilitated this fraudster to dupe our system for all these years. And the 4th lie Dubuisi told on an oath was recently when he was appointed as chairman of the National Elections Commission at the public hearing or at the confirmation hearing, he lied on the oath. Before you even take the stance to explain to lawmakers why you are the most suitable candidate for such a post, you must take oath. The sergeant at arms, in the context of legislative politics, administers an oath to nominees or appointees of the president when they are called for vetting. This is the process. The Boosie was called. He lied on the oath for the 4th time. Therefore, my lord, I want to submit honestly, His Honor, that the Boosie should be charged and found guilty for perjury. He committed perjury because he lied on an oath to the Supreme Court of Liberia during his process of seeking lessons as a practicing lawyer. The Boosie should be found guilty, my lord. I'm pleading the case of a plaintiff who has filed a case against the Boosie on 5 charges. Therefore, my lord, the Boosie, as a former nominee for the position of chairmanship at the level of the National Elections Commission, should also be found guilty because he lied on an oath during the process of seeking membership at the level of the Liberia National Bar Association. He also lied on an oath, my lord, when he was called for confirmation at the level of the Senate after being appointed as executive director of the Good Governance Commission. His Honor, the Boosie lied on an oath when he was also called recently by the very same Liberian Senate to justify his case as a political appointee for the position of chairmanship at the level of the National Elections Commission. On this basis, I want to submit as the legal counsel of the plaintiff against this defendant called the Boosie Nwambudike that he is guilty and he must be found guilty by your lordship and on your gavel as a criminal for committing these criminal offenses or indictable offenses. I submit in accordance with section 12.30 of subchapter B of the Penal Law of Liberia. This is my first submission, fellow Liberians. This is my first submission. This is my first submission, perjury. Let's go to the second, falsification. And every time I levy a charge against the defendant, the Boosie, I will justify why. Falsification, what does the law say about falsification? Let's go to section 12.30 of subchapter B. Falsification, that's the second criminal offense the Boosie committed. A person has committed a first-degree misdemeanor if, in an official proceeding, he makes a false statement, whether or not material, on an oath or equivalent affirmation, or swears or affirms the truth of such statement previously made if he does not believe the statement to be true. The Boosie knew what he was saying wasn't true, but he still said what he said on an oath all these years to get away and occupy major public positions of national importance. You see how the Boosie beat our system? So he has committed falsification, my lord. So as the legal counsel representing the legal interests of the plaintiff against defendant the Boosie, I want to submit to you why the Boosie must be found guilty for falsification in line with section 12.31, in line with section 12.31 of subchapter B of the Penal Law of Liberia. Here's my argument, or here's my legal argument, fellow Liberians. The Boosie's credential, right? The Boosie's credentials or documents, including his academic transcript and official passport, as well as his national identification card, are a reflection of inconsistencies, inaccuracies, incoherence, as well as falsification. He falsified those documents. He falsified his passport. Look at the date on his passport, different. He falsified his identification card. Look at his identification. Just by telling these institutions that he went to obtain these documents, that he was a Liberian citizen, he lied on an oath, that can be considered as falsification. So these documents are falsified documents, including his academic credential, which is under investigation now by the University of Liberia. He has a lot of A's. A lot of A's. Most of his grades are A's. On what basis? One of the lawyers just informed me while I was on this podcast. So his transcript presented to the Liberian Senate is currently under investigation because he never got those grades while at the Louis Arthur Graham School of Law, University of Liberia. He never got those grades. So because the Boosie falsified all of his academic credentials and legal national documents, he must be guilty of falsification, which is in line with section 12.31 of subchapter B of the Penal Law of Liberia. I believe so, my Lord, and your gavel must not allow the Boosie to escape with impunity for this grave criminal offense. As legal counsel of the plaintiff against defendant the Boosie, I want to submit that he has committed falsification, which is a violation of section 12.31 of subchapter B of the Penal Law of Liberia. I therefore submit. That's charge number 2 against the Boosie, falsification. So we've charged the Boosie for falsification. The third charge in my analysis I just wrote, it's on my page, you can read it on my page. This analysis or presentation I'm doing is on my page. Charge number 3 against the Boosie, forgery. 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 The Boosie committed forgery. And forgery is in violation of section 1.5.70 of subchapter E of the Penal Law of Liberia. The act of the Boosie violates section 15.70 of subchapter E of the Penal Law of Liberia. I told you I have 5 charges against the Boosie. 5 charges, fellow Liberians. And you are listening to the charges. We are in court. This is what I expect from the Ministry of Justice. Why are they wasting time to indict this man and lay the charges against him for all of these grave offenses, indictable offenses? These are criminal offenses. And the Ministry of Justice knows what to do. But the minister has been threatened by the president not to indict the man on these charges I am presenting now in an abstract court, because I consider this as an abstract court. I'm the legal counsel of the plaintiff against defendant the Boosie. I have already levied charge number 1 and charge number 2 against him. We have to charge number 3, forgery. What accounts for forgery according to the law? Section 15.70 of subchapter E of the Penal Law of Liberia. A person has committed forgery or counterfeiting if, with the purpose of deceiving or harming the government or another person, or with knowledge that he is facilitating such deception or harm by another person, he, A, knowingly and falsely makes, completes, or alters any writing or subject. B, knowingly alters or forged or counterfeited writing or object. Forgery is a second-degree felony in the Boosie's case. Are you hearing? Are you hearing what accounts for forgery on our law, fellow Liberians? Forgery. Forgery. Are you hearing what accounts for forgery? When you change the writing in an official legal document to deceive another person or the government or the state, that's forgery. What did the Boosie do with his certificate of citizenship? He falsified. He changed. Look at the writing on his certificate. He didn't bring the original copy even. He photocopied another photocopy. And look at the writing. The writings are slanted. He claimed to have gotten that certificate in 1982, my lord. But when you look at the certificate, the text on the certificate are disfigured, my lord. It means he has violated. He has violated section 1.5.70 of subchapter E of the Penal Law, which talk about changing or altering writings on legal documents, and it accounts for forgery, my lord. Therefore, considering all of the facts contained on the fake certificate of citizenship of the Boosie, I plead with your gavel. I plead with your gavel. I plead with your judicial scrupulous capacity to find this defendant guilty, based on the fact that he altered the writings on his quote-unquote certificate of naturalization. That's not even his certificate, because in 1982 we had a military junta led by Master Sergeant Saymah. The Constitution was suspended. Instead of a circuit court, we had a military tribunal. How could the Constitution be suspended and then you are still issuing certificate of naturalization? If the Constitution is suspended, it means all other laws are suspended, because all other laws are subservient to the Constitution. The Constitution is the supreme legal document of the country. It is the Magna Carta, my law. So you can clearly see that Dubuisi has falsified or forged or deceived us with this fake certificate of naturalization. This man, Dubuisi, who is the defendant, claimed to have obtained this certificate in 1982. And he also told us he was born 1965. So from 1965 to 1982, you are talking about 17 years. So he was 17 years when he applied for naturalization. And our law, according to section 21.1, my law, of 1973 Alien and Naturalization Law is very clear. Before you obtain or apply for naturalization, you must obtain the age of 21 and above. So Dubuisi was unfit. He was unqualified to have even applied. So this clearly tells you the extent of the fraud, my law. Therefore, I want to submit to your gavel that Dubuisi be found guilty on account of forgery, which is in line or which is contained in section 15.70 of subchapter E of the penal law of Liberia. That's submission number 3. So we have charged Dubuisi for forgery, fellow Liberians. 5 charges, criminal offenses against the law. Let's go to number 4. I narrate the charges drawn out. I've helped the Ministry of Justice so they can start from here. Or I'm willing free of charge to draw out the indictment of Dubuisi, or lining even more charges beyond this, beyond these 5 charges. Free of charge. If the Ministry of Justice is blind to the law, they can hire my service. I will do it free of charge because I love Liberia. Let me draw the indictment against Dubuisi with all of the charges online in the context and in accordance with the law. Of course, I agree with you, Cllr S. Johnson. Dubuisi reincarnated 4 times. 1963, 1964, 1965, and 1969. One man 4 times. He even more than the prophets of those days. You know, he's more than a celestial being. More than a ghost. He must be a ghost. That's why I said the falsification of Dubuisi's certificate of citizenship or naturalization is the 8th wonder of the world. The 8th wonder of the world. Go and look at that certificate. It has no number to trace, no seal of notary, neither the seal of the republic. The signature on that certificate, you can see it's not clear. The person's name is not clear. The texts are not clear. The text used in that certificate is a computerized text or a computerized font. At that time, there was no computer in Liberia in 1982. No. Computer came to Liberia in 1985. I can remember the first operating system was Microsoft DOS. Second, Microsoft 1995, Windows 1995. Microsoft Windows 1995. The first operating system people started using in 1995 in Liberia. Microsoft DOS, MS-DOS. This operating system. That's what people were using. They left from DIX operating system, they went to Windows 1995. Before the system started upgrading and computers started to improve. So there was no computer. People were using typewriter in 1982. So where did Dubuisi get his certificate of citizenship from? Constitution suspended, military junta in power, military tribunal is functioning as the court. Even though certificate of naturalization should be gotten from a Saki court. But there was a military tribunal substituting the court system because of the suspension of the Constitution as a result of the coup that took place on April 12, 1988. Dubuisi needs to read history, my people. Dubuisi needs to read history. So let's go to criminal offense or criminal charge number 4. Dubuisi has also committed fraud. Fraud is contained in section 15.50 subsection A, subchapter E of the penal law of Liberia. I'm quoting the law of fellow Liberians, even though I'm not a lawyer or a legal scholar. I'm not a student of law, neither am I a paralegal or an apprentice lawyer, but I'm quoting the law. I'm holding Dubuisi responsible for his action, a fraudulent action against Liberia and Liberians. Let's go to offense number 4. He has committed fraud. A person is guilty of a first-degree felony if he knowingly conspires or colludes to defraud the government of Liberia. Are you hearing me, fellow Liberians? And I want to submit to you. I want to submit to this honorable court, honor your gavel as Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, that the defendant is guilty or must be held guilty for committing fraud. He violated section 15.50 subsection A of subchapter E of the penal law of Liberia. And the reason or the legal basis for my claim or my position or my stance on this issue as the counsel of the plaintiff, Dibuzi, as a quote-unquote naturalized citizen of Liberia, defrauded a number of public institutions, and he fraudulently enjoyed the immunities and privileges of a Liberian citizen under the pretext and context of being a naturalized Liberian. So because he fraudulently enjoyed the immunities and privileges that a Liberian citizen, a true Liberian citizen, is supposed to enjoy, he must be held accountable for his action. And his action accounts for fraud. And fraud is an offense in our penal law. It violates section 15.50 subsection A of subchapter E of the penal law. Therefore, my lord, because this defendant called Dibuzi Nwambu Dubuke attended the University of Liberia as a Liberian student and not a foreign student, he was not charged equally as a foreign student. So he defrauded thousands of dollars from the state. He defrauded thousands of dollars because as a foreign student, you are charged more than a Liberian student. Dibuzi should have been a foreign student. But he took a fake letter of recommendation from this very same Chief Justice to seek admission at the University of Liberia. So he was not charged as a foreign student. Instead, he enjoyed the immunities and privileges of as a Liberian student. Are you hearing me, fellow Liberians? How Dibuzi defrauded the state and the people of Liberia? So he committed fraud. And fraud is contained in section 15.50 subsection A of subchapter E of the penal law of Liberia. Therefore, my lord, I therefore submit honor your gavel that Dibuzi be found guilty. Let's go to charge number 5, criminal malevolence. Criminal malevolence is contained in section 11.14 of chapter 11 of the penal law of Liberia. Let's go to charge number 5, fellow Liberians. Criminal malevolence. A person has committed a first-degree misdemeanor if he accuses any executive authority, judicial authority, member of the national legislature, or any other public authority, either by word of mouth, writing, or by public broadcast of conduct which constitutes the commission of crime, provided at the time of such accusation. Are you hearing the criminal malevolence? When you accuse a government official, either a member of the legislature, or a member of the judiciary, or a member of the executive, when you accuse any member of these branches of government falsely, either by way of your mouth or by writing, according to the penal law, you've committed criminal malevolence. And criminal malevolence is a first-degree misdemeanor. You know, in the context of the law, you have felony, you have misdemeanor. Felony is a capital crime, like murder when you kill, murder, armed robbery, arson when you burn people's properties, arson, horse when you burn people's house or horses, murder. These are felonious crimes. They are capital offenses in the context of the criminal law or system of Liberia. Misdemeanor are lesser crimes. Because they are lesser crimes, they have lesser penalties. Felonies are higher crimes. Because they are higher crimes, they have higher penalties or jail terms. I just wanted to provide this notation. Now, defendant Dibuzi has committed criminal malevolence, and I just told you what accounts for criminal malevolence in line with section 11.14 of chapter 11. Now, here's my argument how he has committed criminal malevolence. During the hearing, the legislative hearing, fellow Liberians, Dibuzi said to us that Senator Vani Shemon wrote a letter of recommendation for him. Besides writing a letter of recommendation for Vani Shemon, Senator Vani Shemon of Grand Cayman County, Senator Vani Shemon and him had worked together in the past. The Busi said Councillor Vani Sherman wrote a letter of recommendation for him, and he and Vani Sherman had worked in past time. And Vani Sherman said that's a lie. He challenged him to even bring the letter. Up to now, he hasn't brought the letter. So to falsely accuse a member of the legislature, because Senator Vani Sherman said he's lying, he only showed a letter from the Chief Justice. That's why I'm calling for the Chief Justice to be held accountable for aiding and abetting this criminal of a lawyer. So because the Busi cannot provide the letter of recommendation he's claiming that was written by Senator Vani Sherman of Grand Cayman County, he has committed criminal malevolence. And criminal malevolence is when someone falsely accuses a member of the legislature, a member of the judiciary, or a member of the executive branch. Such person has committed criminal malevolence according to section 11.14 of chapter 11 of the Penal Law of Liberia. So these are 5 charges against the Busi fellow Liberians, and I have justified all of the charges. What is the Ministry of Justice waiting for to indict this criminal of a lawyer? Why is he still being kept at the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission? And let me tell you the penalties for these charges. Let's go to the penalties. For example, number 1, 3rd-degree felony. 3rd-degree felony. A definite term of imprisonment can be set up by the court. The maximum number of years you should serve jail term for 1st-degree felony. For 3rd-degree felony, 3 years. Maximum jail term, 3 years. 3rd-degree felony fellow Liberian, 3 years. So after outlining the charges against defendant Dubuzi, I'm telling you how many years he should go to jail for, according to the Penal Law of Liberia. Join me, let's read section 50.5 and section 50.1. These provisions in our penal law contain the penalties for those 5 charges I have named or outlined against defendant Dubuzi as the legal counsel of the plaintiff in this case. So the penalty for 3rd-degree felony, maximum of 3 years of jail term. 1st-degree misdemeanor, minimum 1 year, 1 year jail term. It can be more than 1 year, but minimum according to the law, 1st-degree misdemeanor, no more than 1 year. It's no more, so the maximum is 1 year. When you commit 1st-degree misdemeanor, like in the case of Dubuzi committed 1st-degree misdemeanor criminal malevolence. The law requires that he serve a jail term for not more than 1 year. 2nd-degree felony. 2nd-degree felony, the maximum jail term you should serve is for 5 years. 5 years for 2nd-degree felony. Dubuzi here committed, I'm looking for where he committed 2nd-degree felony. Dubuzi committed forgery. Forgery is 2nd-degree felony. Maximum jail term, according to section 50. According to section 50.5 and section 50.7. 2nd-degree felony, maximum jail term 5 years. And the last number 4, 1st-degree felony, maximum jail term is 10 years. Dubuzi also committed perjury, which is 1st-degree felony. 10 years, maximum jail term. So what is the Ministry of Justice waiting for, my people? Patrick Kollie, thank you for joining. Lawrence Kollie, thank you. Hey, says Weah Zono, thank you for joining. Nicholas P. Weah, my brother, thank you. Thanks to all of you for joining. Sawe, Ansu, Daniel, thanks for joining. So these are 5 charges against Dubuzi, my people. Up to now, no indictment has been drawn by the Minister of Justice or the Office of the Solicitor General, because Dubuzi is the booty of President Weah, which is very sad. The man has been rejected already based on integrity issues, based on the fact that he defrauded the system for more than 20 years, claiming to be Liberian citizens when he's not. The man is still serving at LUCC. You think the government serious? Who will take the government serious? That's why I'm also calling for all of those who assisted, who aided and abetted Dubuisi, including the Chief Justice, who wrote for him a letter of recommendation that he used all through these years, claiming to be citizen of Liberia because he could not show his fake certificate of naturalization. The Chief Justice must also be held accountable. In law, we call this enabler. The Chief Justice is an enabler. He is a facilitator of the crime. So the facilitator of the crime must also be held equally liable as the culprit of the crime. Are you hearing me, fellow Liberians? We're dealing with the law now. Yes, we're dealing with the law. The facilitator, the person who aided and abetted the culprit, must equally be held liable as in the case of the Chief Justice. He must be held liable in line with section 12.5 of subchapter A of the Penal Law of Liberia, which talks about aiding commiseration of crime, aiding commiseration of crime, facilitating crime. So the Chief Justice, President Weah, and all those who help this criminal to bypass our system must be held accountable for their action. All those, fellow Liberians. So this is the case I have presented. You can read the full version of this analysis on my page. It is titled, If I Were the Minister of Justice. 5 charges against Dubuisi Nwambudike. By now, I have drawn an indictment of 5 different charges, criminal offenses against this criminal called Dubuisi, who has 4 different days of birth. Who has 4 different days of death, or birth, fellow Liberians. So let's go to talking point number 3. But before we go to talking point number 3, you know, the other day I said when someone is a naturalized citizen, he should not have similar privileges as compared to a natural-born citizen. Someone argued the fact that citizen is citizen, so everybody should have the same opportunity. No. On the basis of dual allegiance, you cannot give the same rights or privileges of a natural-born or a native-born citizen to a naturalized citizen. You cannot give those same rights or privileges to the both parties. I disagree totally with such flawed concept. And this is why I disagree with such flawed concept in line with section 21.50 of subchapter C of the 1973 Alien and Naturalization Law. And I'm going to present to you 6 grounds, legal and reasonable grounds, on which the citizenship of a naturalized Liberian can be revoked. I'm going to tell you, to further justify my position, why there should be a difference in terms of immunities, leverage, opportunities, as well as rights and privileges given to both parties, naturalized citizen and natural-born citizen. They should not have the same privileges. Are you aware that the citizenship of a natural-born Liberian can be revoked, but the citizenship of a natural-born or a native-born Liberian cannot be revoked? Are you aware, fellow Liberians? It is contained in section 21.50 of subchapter C of the 1973 Alien and Nationality Law of Liberia. Let us look at the 6 legal grounds on which the citizenship of a naturalized Liberian can be revoked to further authenticate our argument against Dubuisi's fake citizenship, fake claim of being a naturalized citizen. Number 1, a naturalized citizen status can be revoked if he conceals material facts or willful misrepresentation during the process of naturalization. So concealment of material facts or willful misrepresentation can lead to the revocation of the citizenship of a naturalized Liberian. Number 2, not being eligible by existing law at the time of acquiring citizenship. Okay, let's take for example, assuming but not admitting Dubuisi is a Liberian by naturalization. He said he got his naturalization certificate in 1982. He was born 1965. From 1965 to 1982, you're talking about 17 years. He was 17 years old when he applied for naturalization and got his certificate. Assuming but not admitting, right? He's not even qualified to be a citizen because at that time of seeking naturalization, he was not qualified. The law says you should be 21 and above before you apply for naturalization, according to section 21.2 of the 1973 Alien Naturalization Nationality Law. So even if you are a citizen, but now we are arguing for his citizenship to be revoked because he lied on an oath. He committed perjury. First degree felony, and the maximum jail term is 10 years, according to the penal law of Liberia. So the second ground upon which the citizenship of a naturalized citizen can be revoked if he or she was not eligible according to the law at the time of acquiring his citizenship of naturalization. Number 3, not being eligible to enter in Liberia at the time of acquiring citizenship. The citizenship of a naturalized Liberian can be revoked on that ground as well. So at the time you enter and you apply, if you are not a legal resident, and later on we got to know, or later on we knew, we knew your citizenship can be revoked on that basis. Number 4, not of good moral character. You already know the character of Debussy. In fact, if he was even a citizen by naturalization, but now we are presenting this case against him for the revocation of his citizenship. Not of good moral character. You know his past record. Too many scandals. Debussy carries on his back a baggage of scandals and scams. He doesn't have integrity, no morals at all. That's why he didn't pass our tripartite test. The citizenship test he failed, the integrity test he failed, the morality test he failed. The 5th ground upon which the citizenship of a naturalized Liberian can be revoked, according to section 21.50 subchapter C of the 1973 Alien Nationality Law, is when he attaches no importance to the principles of the Constitution. When he or she attaches no importance to the principles, the precepts, the values of the Constitution, his or her citizenship can be revoked as a naturalized Liberian. The last ground, the 6th ground on which revocation of the citizenship of a naturalized Liberian can take place, if laws governing naturalization have not been fully complied with, one can lose his or her citizenship as a naturalized Liberian. So these are the 6 grounds. So assuming but not admitting Debussy is a citizen by naturalization of Liberia, by this time we are calling for the revocation of his citizenship because he violated all of these grounds. All of these grounds, he violated them. So why must we look at such a criminal and appoint him at the level of the National Election Commission, my people? You answer this question. Considering all of what I have said, considering the presentation I have made, why must we welcome, keep hitting the share button, fellow Liberians? Considering the presentation I have made, why must we prefer a Nigerian fraudster and con artist to preside over an independent and integrous body like the National Elections Commission? It's really sad, fellow Liberians. We are in sad times. And all of us need to raise the alarm because Liberia is drowning. Liberia is dying, my people. Sometimes I feel sick. I feel sick for my country. Sometimes I want to cry. I want to shed tears because we've given the country to a group of ignorant and incompetent characters. I often call them incompetent and arrogant illiterates. That's who they are. We've given the country to a group of incompetent, arrogant, and insensitive illiterates who are greedy, unpatriotic, and unnationalistic. That's who they are. How could we have taken our country, our lives? Because the survival of the country is tied to our lives. It's tied to our destiny, my people. Our survival as a people and a nation is tied to the decision we often make in elections. Our survival is tied to the presidency. How come that we give the presidency to a clueless footballer? I told you the other day I'm working on an analysis, and the title of that analysis or the title of that article is called The Novicity of a Celebrity. How could we have given the highest office in the land to a novice? How could we, fellow Liberians? How could we, fellow Liberians? How could we, Sedition King? How could we, Sidiki Komala? How could we? How could we, Achi Niswalo? How could we, Mohammed Kwalokbun? How could we? I'm asking all of you. How could we take our destiny? How could we take our sovereignty and its values with a common footballer who just came from the football field on the number 9 position to occupy the highest office in our land? I agree with an expert, an international expert who said the Liberian people are still traumatized. I agree. We are still traumatized. To take the highest office in the land and give it to Weah, Judge Weah, who doesn't know what to do. At least if it was somebody who knows what to do, it's reasonable. But Judge Weah doesn't know what to do. Those he has appointed around him do not know what to do. So it is about the blind leading the blind. And it's about the blind leading the blind. So you see how they are misleading the country? Too pathetic. This is the outcome of our decision in 2017. This is the tragic outcome of our decision in 2017. The decision you made, I'm talking about the majority. The decision the majority made in 2017 has placed us at this position. Liberia is moving in a counterclockwise direction. President Weah is pressing the reverse on the car. He's speeding in the reverse. This president is speeding in the reverse. The plane is about to crash. The passengers are crying for rescue. And these were the same passengers who entrusted this pilot with this plane. A pilot who does not even know how to read the compass. He does not know which direction to go. As a result, he is speeding in a counterclockwise direction. Now is the time for us to stand up, fellow Liberians. Would I see other countries making progress, and my country is not making progress, it hurts me a lot. It bleeds my heart. I want to cry some days. Just 4.5 million people. Why should they suffer the way they are suffering? Why should they suffer the way they are suffering, my people? Just 4.5 million people. With all of what we have as a country and a people, a few group of political elites, very greedy, unpatriotic, are in charge of the country and the resources of the country. They are mismanaging the resources, diverting the resources to their personal use and personal accounts at the expense of the ordinary people. Do you know how many people go to bed hungry in Liberia? I was in Liberia in November, in the middle part of December, because I escaped from the country on December 13th. I fled Liberia on December 13th after a series of attacks by members of the Sabu unit, Zebra unit, and security operators of the NSA, loyal to the government. After a series of attacks on my person, I had to flee the country. And now I'm in Exile. Like other brothers and sisters who fled the country as a result of the brutish reaction from the government against their critical views, or as a result of their critical views. Of course, all the grades of Dibuzi are A's. All his documents are falsified. You know, all his documents. I just levied 5 criminal charges against him. I drew an indictment. So if the Ministry of Justice is unable to draw an indictment against him, I'm willing to voluntarily draw out an indictment with even more than 5 charges, criminal charges against him. And I know I'm willing to draw an indictment of even more than 30 charges. I didn't even go through all of the charges. I just mentioned 5. My people, where are we going? Are we seeing the path we are trekking on? Do we really know where we are going? Or no, we are? Weah is misleading us. The country. Weah is misleading the country to a perishable end. If you don't have eyes to see, open your eyes now. That's why I said I have got no regret to call for the step down of President Weah. He needs to step down. After 24 months, he has proven to be unfit and incompetent, as well as unpatriotic, corrupt, and greedy. President Weah needs to step down. This time around, fellow Liberians, we should not only protest in Maserati County. If it causes me to risk my life to go back to the country and mobilize our people from county to county for us to shut down the country for 1 week and demand that President Weah leaves, I will do. I will be the sacrificial lamb. I will be the sacrificial lamb very soon. Enough is enough. I will be the sacrificial lamb very soon. Enough is enough. Our people are suffering. The looting is enough. The building of private mansions and estates is enough. You gave your wife $2 million United States dollars of our money when she ran a restaurant in New York, in Queensland, and could not even make $5,000 whole year. Her restaurant broke down. Cllr Weah, she had a restaurant, Queensland, New York. The restaurant broke down. She could not even earn $5,000 a year. But now she has a budget of $2 million in our national cake. Why the people suffer and do not even have food to eat? This is unfortunate, fellow Liberians. And as I speak to you today, I want to plead with you to join me. Our people are suffering, and I want to cry. I want to cry because the people have suffered too much. We have come of age, 172 years on a journey to nowhere, and we are still on this tragic journey to nowhere. Why must we have a lot, yet we are suffering? Why must we have gold, diamond, cocoa, coffee, other cash crops? Why must we have land, timber? Why must we have iron ore, rubber? We have the second largest rubber company in the world, but unemployment rate is 85% in Liberia. The rate of inflation has hit an all-time high of 31% according to the IMF. Why must we suffer, fellow Liberians, in the midst of abundant natural resources? The only reason why we are suffering is because our country is victimized by leadership bankruptcy and novicity, as well as arrogance and greed. This is the time for us to stand up. If you haven't stood up for Liberia before, I want to plead with you to stand up for Liberia. All of these times, President Weah has appointed criminals to occupy major posts of public trust. Why must this be, Mr. President? Did the people elect you to appoint criminals like the Busi? Did the people appoint you did the people elect you to appoint criminals like Syrenius Cephus, Solicitor General? Did the people appoint you to prefer an advisor of a criminal of an advisor like Emmanuel Shaw? A criminal like the Minister of State for Presidential Affairs, Nathaniel McGill? A criminal like Samuel Twere, who cannot account for US $25 million that was intended to mop up excess liquidity of Liberian dollars on the market in order to create stability between the two legal tenants? Did the people elect you for this, Mr. Weah? Why are you disappointing the people? The people saw themselves through you as someone from the slum, so they decided to trust you with their power. Is this the result of this trust? Why must this be? Is this the pay you are giving them for electing you? For electing you as a president who just came from the football field, having no knowledge in governance or leadership? Still, they had confidence in the fact that you came from the slum and you understood their condition, their appalling condition, so they elected you as president of the republic. Why are you disappointing them? Why have you neglected them in the wilderness of poverty? Why have you neglected them in the wilderness of misery? Why have you neglected them in the wilderness of hardship? Did they elect you to build your private properties? You have over 40 luxurious units at AIRReT Highway opposite the Baptist Seminary. You've built and furnished your Jamaican lodge. You've rehabilitated your rehab residence. You broke down your 9th Street residence and building a skyscraper with an underground channel running into the sea. You know how much that cost? Millions of dollars of the people's money while the people suffer. And you don't want us to talk about these things. When I talk about them, you call me a hateful young man. What is hateful about saying you are stealing the people's money and building private properties and even sharing the people's money with your wife? She has $2 million in our national budget for humanitarian outreach, quote unquote, while our people in West Point do not have access to better health care. This has got to stop. This is the symbol of misrule and bad governance. Oh yeah, Mohammed Dukle, he misspelled his own name. On all those documents, the name of Dubusi is misspelled. Keseli Ndobo, welcome. All of us need to fight for Liberia. Liberia is going down to the dust. The country is moving in the direction of collapse. And if we do not fight for Liberia, the next generation will hold us responsible for our willingness to plunge the country into collapse or decline or paralysis or malaise. We must fight for our country. The country is beyond the interest of President Weah. The country is beyond the interest of Cllr Weah. It's beyond the interest of Nathaniel Magio. It's beyond the interest of Samuel Toye. It's beyond the interest of Jefferson Koji Moba Molu, Akaros Gray. It's beyond the interest of Aloysius Talu. It's beyond the interest of Eugene Fagon and others who continue to justify the wrongdoings of this ex-soccer star turned politician president. This has got to stop. The misrule is enough. 24 months of misrule and bad governance is enough. It has got to stop. And I call on all Liberians, whether you are in Liberia or you are in the diaspora, join us. Let us raise the bar. Let us build political consciousness in the country, because when our people become conscious, they will act in the best interest of themselves. So every day when I come here, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, when I come on this podcast by 7:30 p.m. Liberian time, I do so with the conviction that Liberia will change and Liberia must change. And this is the optimism we share in common as a people and a nation. The country is overwhelmed by massive fraud. Criminals have taken over the country. President Weah is presiding over a criminal enterprise, a mafia state, because President Weah himself is a mafia, a con artist. Why must we be treated in such manner? Was it bad for the people from the slums, the ghettos, the shanty towns, and rural hamlets to give power to this president? Even though he was a novice, even though he could not even state his platform, was it wrong that the people commit any crime to have elected you, Mr. President? A former footballer turned president? When you made millions of dollars in Europe, what did you do for Liberia? You didn't zinc shacks. You didn't re-roof those zinc shacks in Gibraltar, in Cllr. You didn't do that. You came from Cllr. Your root is Cllr. It was only when you became president, you used the taxes of the very same people to re-roof their zinc shacks. And you wanted us to clap for you. We who are only clap for you if you had done that during the time you were playing football in Europe and making millions of dollars. You go to Nuku Town. You dedicated a few housing units, substandard housing units, built by the taxes of the people, and you want us to clap for you? We who are only clap for you, Mr. President, how you built those units when you were playing football, when you were playing for millions of dollars, when you are playing on AC Milan, when you are playing on Paris Saint-Germain, when you are playing on Chelsea, when you played for Man City and made millions of dollars, when you play in Asia and made millions of dollars, when you play in Italy, England, all these places. We who have clapped for you, had you use your own money from football to build those substandard units in Nukutan Popo Beach, or to re-roof those zinc shacks in Cllr and Gibraltar where you come from. You cannot use our taxes and build a few substandard substandard housing units and you expect us to clap for you. Go and see the units being built by the Ghanaian president. Towering building, austere, duplexes. He built those units for poor people. Go and see the duplexes being built by Mara Bill of Severlu for poor people. You build those few, units, those few substandard units, very squeezed up. Then you want us to clap for you until Christmas Day, even though those units were built with our taxes, and up to now you cannot even account for the over 1.1 million you used to re-roof those zinc shacks in Gibraltar? What kind of president are you? Was it bad? The people knew you came from their line. The people knew you, President Weah, knew what it meant. What it means to eat gari, to stay hungry for days. The people knew that you, President Weah, knew what it means to not have anything at all, to not go to school, to not have access to better health care. It was on that basis they prefer you as President of the Republic of Liberia. After 2 years under your leadership, what have they got to show? What have they got to show? The country is falling. The country is descending. Is gravitating to uncertainty. Uncertainties have overwhelmed the country. The people are left in hopelessness and wonderland. They have no hope. You keep telling them to bear patience. But are you bearing patience to build your private properties? Why should they bear patience when Antonio McGill has 3 compounds from the people's resources? Why should they bear patience when Samuel 12 cannot account for US 25 million that was intended to mop up excess liquidity of Liberian dollars? I wrote him a formal letter asking him to produce the list of all those he gave the 25 million to. He said he gave 25 million to sour money exchangers, those who can exchange currency on the sour. Up to now, he cannot produce the list of beneficiaries of the 25 million United States dollars. And that money came from our reserve. I just told you that President Weah has depleted the net foreign reserve of the country from 152 million United States dollars to 21 million United States dollars just in 24 months. How come, Mr. Weah? He must also account for the missing 16 billion. His government must also account for the US 3.2 million of the World Bank money. The balance fund for Ebola. They cannot also account for donors' money. Last year, 11 embassies wrote the government of Liberia asking them to restitute funds that they illegally took from their accounts in a consolidated account. It's a shame, Mr. Weah, not only to your government, but the very office you occupy. Share this video, fellow Liberians. It's a shame. The office you occupy is the office of prestige. It's the office of honor. It's the office of integrity, accountability, transparency, and openness. Since you became president, we had to force you through a protest. I led that protest on July 26, 2018. I led a protest demanding you, President Weah, to declare your assets, which is in accordance with Section 10.1 of the 2014 Code of Conduct Law. When you could not declare your assets, which was a bad precedent, other officials could not declare their assets because you could not declare your assets. Until Martin Kollie and others had to lead a protest on July 26 to compel you to declare your assets. The next day, July 27, after the Independence Day, you declare your assets based on the action. So this president lacks protest. This is why I am saying to all of you, let us begin to have conversation around the possibility of having a nationwide protest. Not a Mozzarella-based protest or a Monrovia-based protest, a nationwide protest. When Monrovia is locked down, Lofa is also locked down at the same time. When Lofa is locked down, Nima is also locked down at the same time. Bon County is also locked down. Kema is also locked down. Bapolu, Bomi, all counties, Bassa, River Sets, Magibi, Grand Jide, River G, River Sets, Grand Crew, Maryland, Sino. If Monrovia is locked down at the same time, all other counties must be locked down. This is my recommendation, and we need to begin having conversation around the possibility of having a nationwide protest. And this is what I'm working on gradually. I'm talking to a few persons. I'm engaging fellow Liberians from back home and from abroad in the diaspora. I'm engaging them. We will get there very soon. We cannot afford to go to 2023 with a Weah presidency. He's destroying the country. Weah is destroying the country. We did not sign any contract with President Weah for him to reach 2023. There is no provision in the Constitution that guarantees that. I challenge anybody to prove me wrong. I challenge anybody to prove me wrong. The president goes around pronouncing public policies and policy shifts that he cannot even continue or sustain or implement Look at what he did to the University of Liberia. I just got an information that Weah is about to go to its pre-tuition free status. They're about to charge because Weah cannot pay for the tuition of those students he claimed to give a tuition-free education to. He announced in 2018 a tuition-free education for all tertiary students attending tertiary institutions, public tertiary institutions in the country. Now he cannot implement his promise, or he cannot fulfill his promise. What kind of president is this? President talk about mineral resource swap. When they came from China, finance minister go on the radio and said we'll have a mineral resource swap with China. China will give us money and we'll give them our mineral. Another unfulfilled promise. The president talk about 9,000 Nigerian teachers coming to the country. Where are they? The president talk about building 7 stadiums in 7 counties. Where are the 7 stadiums? He has not even started one. He talked about 400 street lights along the AIRReT corridor. Where are the street lights? He talked about 2,000 lights across the country. Where are the 2,000 street lights? He talked about building a modern conference hall and other buildings like Twin City on the Bali Island. Where is that project? The president talked about Coastal Highway. Where is the Coastal Highway? He talked about building an estate in West Point for the people there. 2,000 units, housing units. Where is the estate? Where is the estate? Are you asking the president about all these promises? The president has miserably failed. Should we keep him there until 2023? Did we sign a contract with President Weah for him to remain in power until 2023? The Constitution doesn't say so. The Constitution is very clear in Article 1. The people can alter the government, they can change the government if they so desire. At their will and pleasure, the government can be changed because all power is inherent in the people. We need to read the Constitution. The day the people decide, they can remove. And I'm calling now for the people to make that definite decision. For us to give Weah the boot. For Weah to go. Weah must leave. That's the next campaign. As I say, I'm working with a lot of Liberians from across the globe to ensure that the campaign intensifies. This time around, I must rather protest. We must insist on a nationwide protest for 1 week. You saw what happened in Sudan? People's power. Remove Omar al-Bashir. You saw what happened in Gambia? The people's power. Remove Yahya Jammeh. You saw what happened in Tunisia? The people's power. Remove Ben Ali. You saw what happened in Egypt? People's power. Remove Hosni Mubarak. You saw what happened in this country. Let me name the other. I'm naming countries. Zimbabwe. Robert Mugabe has stayed too long in power. He was old and the people wanted him out. The people's power removed Robert Mugabe. And I want to salute the revolutionary Robert Mugabe for his tireless effort in defense of Africa. But though he defended Africa's interest and Zimbabwe's interest, but it was time for him to go. He was too old now, for God's sake. And the people demanded that he leaves. And he left. The people's power. So the power Weah has is the people's power. He doesn't know that. He thinks it is his private power or the power of his family that he has. So he's abusing power. He's misusing it. He's misusing his office. Did you listen to the revelation of Mobile Molu? President Weah goes out, collects money in the interest of the country, and he diverts to his personal account. Did you listen to the leak audio? Mobile Molu is on that tape. He said he was drunk when he was talking. How did you know you were drunk? Because when you're drunk, you are subconscious. You don't know whether you were drunk or not. According to the revelation on that leak audio from Mobile Molu said President Weah uses his position to exploit our young women, our young sisters and mothers for job and other opportunities. Is that not an impeachable offense? What did the legislature do about that? No investigative committee was set up to even investigate. If that kind of accusation is made by your own chairman in a very serious country, but now President Weah is impeached. So since the legislature does not have the boards, since the legislature does not have the courage to impeach the president, which is applicable in the context of the Constitution, it is only the people that can decide for themselves. Way of deciding for ourselves, calling for a nationwide protest across the 15 political subdivisions at the same time, calling for Weah to leave. Weah must leave. This is a new campaign. Weah must go. Weah must go. There should be no compromise about this. All of you were in our country when I led the Bring Back Our Money protest. That was the first most popular protest after the war of Liberia. Post-war protest. The first most popular post-war protest. I led thousands of Liberians on the ring. The ring was falling, but thousands of Liberians still came out, petitioning the international community to set up an independent investigative committee. You know what our protest achieved? Today we have the Cllr report. The Cllr report. We have the Cllr report with us. Even if it takes years to come, those who have been indicted by that report will be persecuted. You saw what the protest achieved? When I led the other protest on July 26th, President Weah declared his asset the next day. You saw what our other protest achieved again? President Weah, the vice president, and other senior officials declared their assets. Though they didn't make it public, but it's, according to the GSC, they declared their assets. But they should be making their assets, the net worth of their assets, public. What is there to hide if you claim to be a pro-poor government? If you claim to be a pro-poor president, why are you hiding the net worth of your assets from your people? It's because you want to loot the resources to build additional assets. So you do not want us to know which one you had before becoming president. This is the time for change, my people. This is the time for us to fight for Liberia. And I want to submit to you today a national call, a passionate call, for us to begin having a national conversation around the possibility of having a nationwide protest to demand that Weah leaves. We shouldn't wait for 2023. When we wait for 2023, that country will be destroyed, my people. I'm telling y'all, don't say I'm telling y'all. I have analyzed it. I have looked far beyond. Because me, I do not only look at the surface. I analyze what will happen next year, what will happen in 2021, what will happen even before 2023. Using basic data and analysis in my reach. We need to fight for the country, my people. Liberia is dying, Liberians are dying. Liberians have become slaves in their own country. Liberians have become foreigners in their own country, while foreigners have become citizens. Two sides of a country, fellow Liberians. This is the time for us to stand up. Weah must leave. This is a new campaign. Share this with all Liberians. Weah must leave. Weah must leave. And for Weah to leave, we cannot continue to have a Maserati or a Monrovia-based protest. All commercial cities must be shut down at the same time. We should mobilize our people across the 15 counties. If protest is going on in Monrovia or Maserati County, protest should be going on in all other counties at the same time. If we shut down our country for even 3 days, the international community will compel Weah to leave, or Weah by himself will resign. Weah by himself will resign. We have had enough. We've given the man 24 months, 2 years. He has proven not to be competent and fit to occupy the highest office in our land. Should we continue to allow this misrule, my people? Claiming that we're waiting for 2023 as though the Constitution guarantees the existence of Weah as president until 2023? No. The Constitution didn't say like Weah must stay in power until 2023. The Constitution says a president has one term, and one term is 6 years. And he can leave power for these reasons. Number one, abuse of power. He can leave power. The Constitution didn't abuse of power. Through impeachment, he can leave power. He can be impeached. So he's not forced to read 2023, my people. Get this right. Those of you who keep saying, let Weah the man read 2023. Let Weah the man read 2023 when you are dying, when unemployment rate is as high as 85%. People who even have jobs are working poor. They are in the category of working poor. They go to work. They work for money. They use their labor to produce a lot for their employers, but they cannot get paid. They are in the category of working poor. They're working but no money. They are not getting money. They are not getting paid. Civil servants haven't taken pay. We are in crisis time. You shut down the 2 counties, Maserati and Margibi, but you cannot give a single citizen even 1 cup of rest. How do you expect the people to survive? How do you expect the people to live? And most of those people are hustlers. They don't have a job. They come on the street to hustle for living. You're telling them to remain home, but you're not providing basic social utilities like electricity, safe drinking water, medication, medicine. You are not providing these things. You are not providing transportation for them. We are not providing other services like food and non-food items. But you say they should stay home. How would they stay home? How would they survive when you haven't even provided a cup of rice to any one of them that is staying home? Fellow Liberians, this is the time for a paradigm shift. You are watching the podcast Voices from Exile with Martin K. and Kollie. I'm your usual host, and it is my pleasure to have you on. We've been talking a lot. For almost 3 hours now we've been on. And because of time, we wouldn't go to the fourth talking point. We'll keep the fourth talking point for Monday. Join us on Monday. You know, this platform digs out a lot. We bring a lot to your doorsteps. We inform you, we educate, we inspire, we provoke national debates, we protect public interest, we fact check, and we also reveal hidden truths. This is the mandate of Voices from Exile with Martin K. and Kollie, your usual host, an activist, a columnist, and an economist. I am. And it is always my pleasure to have you on, fellow Liberians. It is because of Liberia we do what we are doing. No one else. We want for Liberia to change. We want the best for Liberia, my people. We want the best for Liberia. When I sit here in Exile and see what my people are going through and read the newspapers, hearing about thousands of people losing their jobs, hearing about hunger, increased hunger, hearing about water scarcity, hearing about gas shortage, economic paralysis, hearing about misrule, bad governance, abuse of power. It breaks my heart. It bleeds my soul. This is unacceptable. This is unacceptable, fellow Liberians. You know, this is why we are running 2 different programs. We are running a writing series. The title of the writing series is Honor the Zakemon Trio of Martin K. and Kollie. And we are also running this podcast, Duped and Starred, Voices from Exile with Martin K. and Kollie. So we are running both writing and verbal. So this is the work we do. You know, at the appropriate time, we will go to school. You know, at the appropriate time, I will go and do my master. But for now, the country is dying. And this is what I have committed myself to doing as an activist and an emerging economist. So thank you for joining. I appreciate you so much. Your time, your resources, the data you use to monitor this podcast every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday by 7:30 p.m. up to this time. I want to say thank you. You are part of this struggle. You are a component and integral of this collective struggle. This is a collective struggle. It is not a struggle belonging to Martin Kollie. No, I have no ownership to this struggle to deliver Liberia from the current political clique or elite. No, this struggle belongs to the Liberian people. All I'm doing, I'm a vessel. I am a vehicle being used by the Liberian people to deliver their message and protect their interest. That's my job. That's my job, fellow Liberians. That's the job I do. And that's the job I am proud of doing. I am proud to be a Liberian. Likewise you, I guess. All of us are proud to be Liberians, to be called Liberian citizens. But we are not proud of the president we have. No, I'm not proud of the president I have. When I see President Mada Bio and I see my president, I'm not proud of my president. When I see President Nana Akufo-Addo of Ghana making progress, I'm not proud of President Weah, who abuses our sisters and mothers in exchange for jobs and other opportunities. I'm not proud of that president. When I see President Buhari of Nigeria making progress in the interest of Nigeria, I'm not proud of my president. I'm not proud of my president. When I see President Paul Kagame of Rwanda distributing rice, food, and non-food items to his citizens during these crisis times, I'm not proud of my president who will lock down 2 counties of more than 2 million people and he cannot even distribute a spoon of rice to any one of them. I'm not proud of that president. I'm not proud of my people. When I see President John Pombe Magufuli of Tanzania building hospitals, schools, and making tuition free in a more practical term for his citizens of Tanzania, I'm not proud of President Weah. I'm not proud of this president. I'm not proud of this former footballer turned politician president. I'm not proud. I'm a proud Liberian. I'm proud of Liberia, but I'm not proud of the president I have. I'm not proud. The president we have is a disappointment. It's an epitome of embarrassment He is a symbol of abuse of power. He's a symbol of fraud. He's a symbol of fraud. Look at how he's treating the people of Liberia. Look at how he has been handling this health crisis. Look at how he's looting the coffers of the country. The coffers of the country is bleeding under President Weah. I'm not proud of this president. When I see President Donald Trump talking about America, and it's all about America, I'm not proud of the president we have, because it is all about Weah and not Liberia. President Donald Trump has always said, and he continues to say, America first. In Liberia, the reverse is a reality. We are first, and not Liberia. McGill first. Samuel 12 first. Jefferson Kollie first. Not Liberia. Those are hardcore criminals and petty rascals we've given the country to. Hey, my sister, Ambassador Muna Fahar, welcome. Sherry Roberts, welcome to all of you. Thank you for joining the podcast. I'm not proud. Do you know what it means to be the chief executive officer of a country? The president didn't understand all of these things before even seeking this post of presidency, before even running for the office of president. He didn't understand the fundamentals of governance, the fundamentals of democracy. Why did he run for president? Why couldn't he run for the president of LFA, Liberia Football Association? At least we would have managed him there. At least he would have been manageable at the level of the Liberia Football Association, because he has some technical knowledge in football as former world best, former European best, former African best. Why he run for the highest office in our land? And the people saw him. Those people saw him as their own, because he came from the slum. So they decided to give him the chance, the opportunity to serve. Now he has been given the opportunity to serve. It's all about himself and his family. It's not about Liberia. I'm not proud of this president. You think I'm proud of this president? No, I'm not. But one day, the message I have for them, one day they will account for this misrule. One day, a serious government will come to power, a patriotic government, a competent government, a qualified government will come to power. All of them will account. This is a message for Samuel 12, who cannot account for our US 25 million. This is a message for Nathaniel McGill, who continues to deceive the president and pillage public coffers. This is a message for Jefferson Kollie, a message for Akaros Gray, Moba Malu, a message for Alasha Stalu and all those higher ups or henchmen and women of President Weah. This is a message for you. One day you account for this misrule. One day you account for waging poverty on the Liberian people. You account for waging war, the war of hardship on the Liberian people. You account for waging corruption in our society. One day the day is coming. I'm not proud of this president, fellow Liberians. My heart bleeds every day when our people are becoming common beggars. When more young people are becoming drug addicts, zogos, and there is no concrete solution to save their lives and save their future. I'm not proud of this president. I'm not proud. How can I be proud of a president who has built for himself mansions and estates in less than 8 months? Why the people do not have food to eat? Why the people do not have access to basic social amenities and utilities? Are you proud of this president? Let me ask all of you witnessing this podcast. For me, I'm not proud of this president. I am a proud Liberian. I love Liberia. I'm proud of Liberia as a country, as an independent and sovereign state. But I'm not proud of the president Liberia has. I'm not proud of that president. I'm not. I'm not proud of that president. He lived West Point. He lived Clariton. He lived Nikuta. He lived Soniwen. He lived almost all the slum communities. He knows the condition, the appalling condition of our people. Yet he decides to suffer them even more. Our people are suffering more than ever before under President Weah. And he lives in all of these slum communities. He went through these things. He knows the condition, the rash and tragic condition of these people. Yet he's even suffering them more. after these very same people entrusted him to serve. And they saw him as their own, as someone from their root, from their background, from their status, from their class. And they decided to give him the presidency. He's abusing the people's power. The time is coming, and consultation is going on. I'm still having consultation with Liberians who are interested. There must be a nationwide protest to demand that President Weah leaves. He is unfit, unqualified, and incompetent in all dimensions and terms to serve as president or to serve in any elected post in Liberia. This is the level we have reached. We cannot wait for 2023. You waiting for 2023 for President Weah to rig the election? You saw his recent appointment. He will definitely appoint his cronies. This brings me to the point of calling for electoral, legislative, and judicial reform in Liberia. We'll deal with this and keep the last talking point, which has got to do with AIRReT. AIRReT is Access, Investigation, Recovery, and Restitution Team. AIRReT Honor Councillor Arthur Johnson and Syrenius Cephus has failed. We'll keep that for Monday. And I'll tell you, I'll give you preponderance of reasons, dozens of reasons, why these two lawyers have failed and mutilated their character further. It's too sad that Arthur Johnson will follow a criminal like Syrenius Cephus to maim or mutilate or damage his high-end reputation as a young lawyer or counselor. We'll talk about that on Monday. But let me just tell you why there is a need for electoral reform. We'll expand on this on Monday as well, but let me give you a brief. Why electoral reform is important now, and I'm calling on all opposition political parties to join me in this call or to join me in this cause. We cannot leave the appointment of commissioners with President Weah. His first appointment has proven unfit. So do you think he will appoint the right person after Debussy has been rejected already by the Liberian Senate? Do you think that Weah will appoint the right person? Weah has always appointed criminals. That's the genetic makeup of Weah, because he's a criminal as well. Birds of the same feathers flock together. They are all incompetent and corrupt bedfellows who have occupied the public space to undermine the collective social, economic, and political destiny of our people. And what beats my imagination is the fact that young people in the government and out of the government, some young people are defending the misrule of this government against their own interests. And most of them don't have jobs. Most of them are not working. Most of them do not even have access to basic social services. Yet they are defending Weah simply because they are sycophantic loyalists. The country is dying, my people. And I have just come to plead in the country's behalf for all of us to unite at a common frontier and defend the ultimate sovereignty, dignity, integrity, impeccability, and progressivity of the country. This is where we are. We are in the middle of the sea. The country is drowning. Must we allow the country to drown further? The answer is no. Therefore, join me. Let us call for a nationwide protest. Let us mobilize for a nationwide protest. Let us consult for a nationwide protest. Consultation is ongoing. I will risk my life and go back to that country and mobilize our people in various counties to ensure that a nationwide protest is held. And that could be the end, Mr. Weah. That could be the end of your presidency. Because the people will decide your fate. The people will decide your fate very soon for abusing them and abusing the office you occupy. We told you, Mr. Weah, establish a war and economic crimes court. You said it in 2017. During one of your campaign speeches, you said when you become president, you were going to establish a war and economic crimes court. You became president. You have turned your back on this promise. Instead of establishing a war and economic crimes court, you are now calling for reconciliation. There can be no reconciliation, Mr. Weah, without justice. Reconciliation, genuine reconciliation, is tied to justice. There can be no reconciliation without justice. The lives of those 250,000 people, of our people who died, must be accounted for by notorious warlords and financiers of the 15 years of civil turbulence in Liberia. Please establish a war and economic crimes court. I call on the international community as well to prevail upon the Weah-led government. Bring the government to bed to establish this court. This court is the solution to Liberia's problem. Look at the Truth and Reconciliation Commission recommendations. Go and look at those recommendations. Those recommendations are answers or solutions to Liberia's problem. Why is President Weah jittering about establishing a war and economic crimes court, which is the solution to our problem? Because when this court is established, those who committed atrocities against the state will be persecuted, and deterrence will be set for who be violators, who be warlords, and who be financiers of civil turbulence and hostility in Liberia. This is the time for a paradigm shift. This is the time for a paradigm shift. And I call on all of you to commit yourselves. I call on all of you to commit your resources. I call on all of you to commit your wisdom, your knowledge to this process of delivering Liberia from this clueless political class that has taken charge. This is a resounding call, fellow Liberians. And I want to call on opposition political party to insist on electoral reform. If the electoral laws, if the new electoral laws are not reformed, the power to appoint commissioners must be taken from the president. In other countries, let me tell you how it is done right here in Guinea. You have representative from the civil society on the election commission. You have a representative from the religious community on the commission. You have representative from the opposition political party on the commission. You have representative from the government on the commission. You have representative from the youth on the commission. You have representative from the women on the commission. You have representative from the disabled community on the commission. I'm telling you the composition of the independent electoral body of Guinea. And this is the same system we need to bring to Liberia. Even in Africa, in most countries, there are representatives from various groups on the commission. So we need to take the power to appoint commissioners of the election commission from the president. An independent board composing of these various representatives from these various groups need to be established. This is my recommendation. There is a need for an immediate electoral reform. There is also a need for a legislative reform, and people. These reforms are important to sustain democracy, to consolidate security, to promote to protect the peace, and to ensure social, democratic, and economic coherence. To avoid crisis in our country, electoral reform is a must. And I hope the ECOWAS is listening. I hope the African Union is listening. I hope the international community, especially our traditional partner, the United States, is listening. Electoral reform ahead of 2020 and 2023 elections is a matter of national imperative. And the opposition political parties must push for this. Otherwise, we will rig the election and the country will be plunged into chaos and crisis. I'm predicting this. And thank God this video is on Facebook. This podcast is on Facebook. We have had enough under the leadership of Weah. The Liberian people need to stand up. So, fellow Liberians, this is the call. I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you, fellow Liberians, for joining Voices from Exile with Martin K. and Kollie. It is my pleasure to always have you on. Join me next Monday, this coming Monday. Enjoy your weekend, you know. Let us end with a few music. Get two music, you know. That weekend here. So, I'm going to say now I'm going downtown. Don't worry, see, DJ. I'm far from Africa. You can't get me easily. Don't worry about me. I'm far from Africa. I'm in Exile. But I'm not telling you where I am. My location is unknown. You can't get me easily. Where I am, it's too far. What I know is I'm in Exile. So the country I'm in is Exile. Consider it as Exile. So fellow Liberians, I want to say thank you for us. It's always our pleasure to have you on this from Exile with Martin K. and Kollie. We've been talking for 3 hours pertinent to issues in Liberia. It's about Liberia, no one else. And we must defend the cost of the interest of the country at all times, no matter who we are or no matter where we are. This is what I believe. And this is the only way we can deliver Liberia from the current tragedy looming over the country. Catastrophe is looming. Tragedy is looming. Our people are suffering. The country is owned by foreigners and aliens. The people have no control over their own destiny. Our people have become foreigners and aliens in their own country, while foreigners and aliens have become Liberians in Liberia. We have to break this barrier. We have to break this vicious cycle of poverty, inequality, injustice. We have to break this cycle, my people. And I want to call on all of you witnessing this podcast to join me for us to break this barrier, this vicious cycle once and for all. This has been looming for decades now. Liberians have been on this tragic lane for decades. Liberians have been on this tragic lane for decades, my people. I know for those of you who are in the diaspora, one day you will want to go home and you will want to see Liberia as a better country. We must make it better now. We must fight for Liberia so that when you reach your retirement age, wherever you are, you can go and have some rest in your home. Let's make Liberia better together. Liberia cannot get better on a Weah. We cannot afford to go to 2023 with a Weah presidency. The people must rise up through a nationwide protest. And I'm up for this. Consultation is ongoing. Very soon there will be a showdown in Liberia across the 15 political subdivisions.